Good afternoon, good evening. It is currently 7:13 p.m. and today's date is the 20th of October 2024. How are you doing this beautiful evening? Yes, y'all. Are you spending your day, your Sunday evening with the family? Are you having a nice family time right now? I just got back from the store with my family. And fun fact, I do not like going grocery shopping. Okay. I don't. But when my wife says, let's go grocery shopping, it's like, okay, yeah, let's get it. She knows I don't like doing grocery shopping. But, you know, it's a little it's sort of like a gesture that, I can perform or do to make her a little, you know, happy, I guess. Those little things makes her happy. So, you know, you indulge in stuff like that to make her feel better or feel good, whatever that is, or however that works. But yeah, I just wanted to put that little, talking point as my intro. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back. How are you? See, Shelly, you are here. Shout out to you. So, all right, let's put the polls up. Let's put the polls up. Let's put the polls up. All right. All right. Shout out to Shelly one more time. Okay. So let me put the polls up. Kamala, Trump, uh, the last time we had over 5,000 people on the polls. All right. Okay, so the title of today, well, this is the second stream for today. The title of the second stream for today is Twice on Sunday. Okay, the first one was Sunday Vibe. The second one is Twice on Sunday, okay? Shout out to everybody tuning in. Shout out to C. Shelley one more time. Everybody watching from anywhere you are in the world, I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you. God bless you, okay? Let's listen to the legendary. Well, now he is a star. Like I said, he is the rising star in the Republican Party. This guy, JD Vance, he is making so much waves. Like, come on, man, JD. JD, come on. You are shining so bright, my dog. Okay, so JD Vance, without further delay, campaigns in the battleground in Wisconsin. Let's get it.
Well, my friends, it's good to be in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and in 16 days, we're going to turn this community red, we're going to turn the state of Wisconsin red, and we're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States. Now, this crowd is fired up, and we started out today in Green Bay, Wisconsin, of course. And I told my team it is a high-risk proposition to come into Wisconsin on a Sunday when the Packers are playing a home game, because either we're going to have a fired-up crowd or a really pissed-off crowd. Today we got a fired-up crowd because the Packers won. They brought it home, and I'm grateful for them. I grew up watching Brett Favre, so even though I'm a Bengals guy, I like the Packers. But in just a couple of weeks, my friends, and I maybe it's sacrilegious to say it, but we've got a more important fight on our hands, and that's to beat Kamala Harris and the Democrats, and that's exactly what all of us are going to do. Now, I got to say, I've come to actually feel a little sorry for my Democratic colleague, Tim Walz, who's running with Kamala Harris. No. Think about it. Think about it. I've got the easiest job in American politics, and he's got the hardest job in American politics. Tim Walz has to try to convince the American people that Kamala Harris hasn't been vice president for the last 3.5 years. Tim Walz has got to try to convince people that Kamala Harris didn't cast trillions of dollars in new spending, which shot inflation through the roof and made groceries unaffordable for American citizens. Tim Walz has got to convince the American people that Kamala Harris actually knows what she wants to do as president of the United States, and I just don't think anybody's buying it. Now, I, on the other hand, have the easiest job because I just have to remind people that when Donald Trump was president, inflation was 1.5%. Pretty good. I just have to remind people that when Donald Trump was president, take-home pay was rising faster than it had in 40 years in the United States of America. And I just have to remind people that when Donald Trump was president, the southern border was secure and America was safe. And thank God for that. So I know all of you are praying for me, and I know we got a lot of Catholics for Trump. I see the signs here. Thank you, Catholics for Trump. And we got a lot of non-Catholics as well, and I just wanted to say, I know you're praying for me, and I really do appreciate it. I need those prayers every single day, but maybe spare a prayer for Tim Walz because he's got to defend Kamala Harris, and that's the toughest job in American politics. Now, here's the thing about Kamala Harris, and remember 2 weeks ago, her campaign decided to tear up the script. They were trying to hide Kamala Harris in the basement, and then they decided they were going to give Kamala Harris a lot of softball interviews. And here's the problem, my friends. I know we got a lot of baseball fans in the room. That the problem with a softball interview is you've still got to be able to hit a softball. And every time Kamala Harris opens her mouth during one of these interviews, I think Donald Trump and I pick up about 100,000 new voters. So now, you've seen the polls. They suggest that Donald Trump and I have got the momentum. I don't believe the polls. I don't believe the polls when they're good. I don't believe the polls when they're bad. But what I do believe is in the wisdom of the people of Wisconsin. And I don't think they're going to give Kamala Harris a promotion. In fact, thanks to Kamala Harris's open border and sky-high grocery prices, I think the people of Wisconsin are going to say to Kamala Harris, you're fired, go back to San Francisco, where you belong. We want Donald Trump as our president. Now, I want to talk particularly to people of faith because I know we've got a lot of Catholics here. And, I don't talk a whole lot about my faith because sometimes you just talk about other things. You talk about public policy, but I'm certainly a very devout Christian, and I was actually baptized for the first time in 2019. I returned to my faith as a young man, got baptized. And I say this as a Christian, as a person who was baptized for the first time just a few years ago. There is something really bizarre with Kamala Harris's anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen... I don't think that we've seen anything like this in modern American politics. You saw this video that Gretchen Whitmer, we know who Gretchen Whitmer is, she's the governor of Michigan. That's right, I agree. But Gretchen Whitmer does this really bizarre thing where she acts like she's given somebody communion, but it's a Dorito. And of course, Gretchen Whitmer isn't like a minister of anything except for, a church I don't necessarily want to talk about. But think about how sacrilegious that is. And think about how offensive that is to every person. Frankly, whether you're a person of Christian faith or not, Donald Trump and I are going to fight for your right to live your values, because that's what the First Amendment protects. And I think whether you're a Christian, a Catholic, or any other faith or no faith at all, when you see an American leader, when you see a surrogate of Kamala Harris insulting people of the Christian faith, I think that we should say to every single one of those people, you're fired. We're not giving you any more power. We're going to respect Christians. We're going to respect all people of faith. And it's not just, look, it's not just the symbolism. It's not just what they do, it's also the way that they've governed over the last couple of years. Remember, Kamala Harris has supported suing Catholic nuns to force them to perform procedures that violate their conscience. I think that's ridiculous. I think we're a big enough country where we can actually respect the right of people of faith to live according to their conscience and not try to force Kamala Harris's progressive values down their throat. Isn't that right? We're a big enough country to respect one another. I think we're a big enough country to not ask American taxpayers to fund abortion at 9 months. I think we're a big enough country to say we're not going to fund that crap with American taxpayer dollars. And I think that we're a big enough country to say that whatever your faith, or whether you're a person of no faith at all, we believe in the First Amendment, and that means most of all that we are not going to censor you and silence you. We're going to try to persuade you, because that's what American political leaders ought to do with their fellow citizens. And that's really, my friends, I think what really there's so many things that set, of course, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump apart, but I think that what you'll never hear Donald Trump say is that you should be prevented from saying something because I disagree with it. And yet Kamala Harris, every single action that she's taken, everything that she says, she'll often defend, not disagreeing reasonably, not persuading her fellow citizens, but trying to silence her fellow citizens. And I think a person who believes in censorship is not fit to lead the world's greatest constitutional republic. And you see this censorship attitude a lot of different ways, my friends. You see it when they try to use big tech to silence stories that they don't like. You saw it a few years ago when they were trying to make 3-year-olds wear masks at preschools, and they censored anybody who said, maybe this is a dumb idea. And where you see it today, I think, in the modern American political debate, is that if you dare to believe in a secure southern border, Kamala Harris and her goons will call me a racist for daring to believe in American borders. Now, here's the crazy thing about this is people of common sense, black, white, brown, we believe in secure southern borders because we love this country and we want it to be secure. That is not a racist belief, that's a common sense belief. But think about what Kamala Harris is really saying. She's really saying if you don't want fentanyl in your communities, then somehow that makes you a racist. If you want security and don't want to import terrorists from 100 countries all over the world, that makes you a bad person. If you want your young families to be able to walk down the street in security and comfort, that makes you a bad person. Kamala Harris, I think the only bad person today in American politics is you. Why don't you try persuading your fellow citizens instead of attacking them and censoring them? And for all of you, Donald Trump and I will fight for your right to speak your mind. Now, I think the reason why Kamala is so obsessed with censorship is because her economic record is not something she wants to debate. It's why she stands up in front of audiences, and my friends, I'm just too, I'm not shameless enough to be able to do what Kamala Harris does. Well, she'll stand up in front of a crowd and say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis affecting American families. Or on day one, we're going to secure the southern border. And I think anybody with an ounce of common sense is saying, Kamala Harris, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing the whole time? But think about where her economic policies have led for Wisconsin families. The average Wisconsin family is spending $1,000 more per month to afford what they could have afforded when Donald Trump was president. The average Wisconsin family has been cost almost $30,000 by increased costs because of Kamala Harris's inflationary policies. Wisconsin families are paying more than $3 a dozen for eggs. They're paying the highest milk and bread prices that we've seen in this state in a very, very long time. The reason Kamala Harris is running away from her record and attacking Donald Trump is because she hasn't done a damn thing for the people in this room, and we can't let her forget it. Think about it. What Kamala Harris ought to be doing is saying, well, I did this and I did that, and that made your life better, and she can't do these things. She cannot run on her record, so she is running on a dishonesty that she's been nowhere near the Oval Office the last 3.5 years. Even though for 3 years we all saw her on TV bragging that she was the last person in the room when disastrous decisions were made, even when we saw her bragging for years that she was casting the tie-breaking votes on some of the worst pieces of the Biden administration policy. Now you talk to Kamala Harris and you would think that she had never even met Joe Biden, much less served as his vice president for 3.5 years. And another way of thinking about this is Kamala Harris, her entire campaign is betting on the fact that she can lie to the American people. She's betting on all of us being dumb, and I think we're a hell of a lot smarter than Kamala Harris gives us credit for. We remember that Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote on trillions of dollars of new spending. We remember that Kamala Harris bragged about opening the American southern border. We remember that Kamala Harris said she was the last person in the room when the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, when that decision was made. And I think while Kamala Harris is betting on all of us being, frankly, very dumb, I think in reality, on November the 5th, Wisconsin is going to send her a message. We actually remember. We remember your failures, and we're not going to reward it. We're going to send Donald J. Trump back to the White House where he belongs. Now, I want to say just a few more things, then we'll take some questions from the press. But first, I want to give some shout outs to, it's okay. Some of them are okay. It's all right. We got some local reporters back there. We got some good people. I want to give a shout outs because you guys have, in the state of Wisconsin, you have some of the best local leadership. And I want to give these guys some credit. And importantly, my dear Senate colleague, the guy who frankly saw the COVID craziness before most people, the great Senator Ron Johnson. Where is Ron at? Where's Ron? He's okay. Well, Ron was supposed to be here, but apparently he's not here. So I want y'all to remember the next time you see Ron Johnson, say, JD's pissed off at you because you didn't even show up and he gave you a shout out. Now, of course, the problem, and there's only really one problem with Ron Johnson, it's that he doesn't have a true partner who is a fighter for the state of Wisconsin. And I think that not only are you all going to send Donald Trump to the White House, you're going to send Ron Johnson a very good partner. You're going to send him Eric Hovde to the United States Senate. Eric. You've also got a great Congressman, Scott Fitzgerald. Scott, please stand up, say hello. Now, what all of us are going to do, now Scott's in Washington, I'm in Washington, Eric Hovde's going to be in Washington. Here's what we're going to do to serve the people of Wisconsin and the people of this country. And let's just do a little contrasting with the record of Kamala Harris and what Donald Trump is going to do, because frankly, he already did a lot of it already, and we're just going to double down on those successes in the next 4 years. Now, Kamala Harris, her economic plan, she is explicitly running, bragging about the fact that she wants to raise taxes on Wisconsin workers and reward countries that steal our jobs and ship American manufacturing overseas. You know what Donald Trump wants to do? He wants to cut taxes for American workers and punish the countries that are stealing our jobs and stealing our industrial base. Kamala Harris has bragged about undoing Donald Trump's 94 executive orders that secured the southern border. She's promised to give Medicare to illegal aliens, and in some cases, it's already happening. Which, by the way, if you want to bankrupt Medicare and throw a generation of American elderly citizens into poverty, you do exactly what Kamala Harris is promising to do. We are going to save Medicare and save Social Security by making sure it goes to American citizens. And where Kamala Harris has rolled out the red carpet for illegal aliens, she's given them housing benefits, she's given them health care benefits. She ordered construction companies to stop building the wall. Donald Trump's approach to illegal immigration is a little bit different, and it's very simple. If you're in this country illegally, pack your bags, because in 4 months you're going back home. I know Wisconsin has a proud tradition of military service, and we're proud of all of our families that took it upon themselves to serve this country. If you're in the audience, thank you for your service. But we know that the most precious resource this country has is the lives of its young people who are willing to put on the uniform to keep us safe. And compare Kamala Harris. We've got a new war, a new hotspot breaking out on seemingly every continent in the world. That's because she's incompetent and doesn't know what she's doing. Donald Trump is the candidate of peace through strength, defending America, protecting the people who serve, and preventing these crazy wars from breaking out all over the country. Kamala Harris is the candidate of anti-Christian and anti-Catholic bigotry. She brags about it. That's her policy record. Donald Trump is the candidate of defending your First Amendment right to practice your faith however you want to, because this is the United States of America, and we believe in religious liberty in this country. And Kamala Harris is the candidate who would rather buy oil and gas from tin pot dictators all over the world. Donald Trump is the candidate of drill, baby, drill. We got plenty of it right here in the United States of America. Let's get it from our own people and our own territory. I've seen so many interviews of President Trump, and they ask him specifically, what is your plan to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of food, lower the cost of everything? And of course, they ask Kamala Harris that same question. When Kamala Harris is asked that question, she says, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Or she'll say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I was really good at making the hash browns. And you say, well, what the hell does that have to do with lowering the price of groceries for American families? We want a plan, not some empty political slogan. And I hate to say it, President Trump, he's made it hard for Kamala Harris to run for president, but he made it a little bit harder. Because I don't know if you saw today, he went and worked at McDonald's for about 15 minutes. And I caught him on the drive over here, and I said, sir, I think you've worked at McDonald's about 15 minutes longer than Kamala Harris did. But look, here's why the energy thing is so expensive. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Is that okay? Think about it. If you're building a house, one of your main expenses is the lumber, the building materials that get delivered to the job site. And if the truck driver who's delivering that stuff is paying 50% more for diesel, then all of us are paying more for housing. If you're buying groceries, the truck driver who gets those groceries to the grocery store is paying 45% more for gasoline, then we're all paying more for groceries. Not to mention the effect when you increase energy costs, it makes American farmers, it makes it harder for them to grow and do what they need to do. So our plan, put simply, to lower prices on everything from groceries to housing is to unleash America's brilliant energy sector. Let these folks do what they do best, and all of us are going to prosper because of it. Now, I know Waukesha County was recently forced to declare fentanyl a public health emergency. And a lot of you know, I know the opioid addiction problem firsthand. My mom struggled with addiction for a very big chunk of my early life. That's one of the reasons why my grandmother helped raise me, is because for a lot of time, my mom was unable to take care of me. And I want everybody who's dealing with it, whether it's you personally, a friend, or a family member, I do really believe that there is hope in recovery. There is hope on the other side of addiction. My mom's been clean and sober for 10 years, and we're proud of her. Thank you, Pastor. Now that to me is the grace of God, and I know in this room we believe that God sometimes works in mysterious ways, but he does work every single day in the lives of citizens of this state and of this country, and I'm living proof of it, my friends. But while we pray to God for recovery, and we fight every single day for those of our loved ones who are getting caught up in this stuff, wouldn't it be nice to have a president of the United States who stopped this poison from coming into our country in the first place? Think about all the second chances, all the moms and dads who never got a second chance with their kids, all of the children who have been orphaned because we have a Vice President, Kamala Harris, who has given free rein to the Mexican drug cartels. Well, Donald Trump is going to take a different approach. We're going to declare war on those Mexican drug cartels and make this country safe for the American citizenry, not for the drug cartels and their disgusting business. One of the craziest thing that's happened to me since I started running for vice president, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened to me since I started running for vice president, is we were in the interdiction room in a small Georgia town, about 50,000 people, called Valdosta, Georgia. And if you've heard Valdosta in the news, it's because it got hit pretty hard by Hurricane Helene, and luckily they're starting to build out and to recover. But I was there before the hurricane hit. And I go into this drug interdiction room, and I'm looking, and it's, by the way, it's not just drugs, because the drug cartels, one of their biggest businesses is illegal guns. So a lot of the most violent crimes that are committed by the most hardened criminals, they're getting their guns illegally. Now, I think we ought to stop that and protect the Second Amendment rights for law-abiding American citizens. Kamala Harris wants to take everybody's guns and reward the drug cartels. That seems to get it in reverse order to me. But aside from the guns, you see just all kinds of drugs. You know, bags of marijuana, there's meth, there's pills, there's THC, and of course there's fentanyl. And you know, I asked these sheriffs, I said, well, there's something here that's just out of place. There's a box of candy, you know, like a Nerds candy, Sour Patch candy. And I'm like, what is that? That doesn't belong here. And the sheriff told me that this is actually THC and fentanyl that had been manufactured to look like children's candy so the cartels would make it easier to get it into our country in the first place. And I think all of us know what's going to happen is that an innocent American child is going to pick up a packet of candy on a playground and they're going to pay for it with their life because Kamala Harris refuses to do her job. And I want all the parents, all the grandparents, everybody who's been affected by this epidemic to know that when Donald Trump is back in the White House, you will have a fighter for your security, your safety, and your children's future. And you also have a fighter who's going to make it easier to afford the American dream again. We've got young people. I see a lot of young people in this room, and I'm sure a lot of you would love to be able to buy a home, start a family, but the American dream of homeownership has gotten out of reach in Kamala Harris's America. A lot of folks don't believe that they can afford groceries because they can't. A lot of folks can't afford the basic necessities of life, and when Donald Trump is back in the White House, we're gonna make the American dream affordable again. We're gonna fight for you to be able to afford a good life. Because while Kamala Harris seems to be motivated by public policy that puts the interests of illegal aliens over American citizens, Donald Trump is motivated by a very simple principle that if you are here legally and you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to afford a good life in this country that all of us love, and we're going to fight for that future every single day. But you got to get us there first. And that brings me to my final point. I want to make sure I get this website right. I'm going to read it off. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. Everybody go to SwampTheVoteUSA.com. Here's the thing. I'm telling you, and this is not me BSing you. I've been in this campaign for 3 months, but look, you know when there's a campaign that's going well, and you know that there's a campaign that's going poorly, and right now the Trump campaign is going very, very well, my friends. We've got the momentum. We've got everything we need. But we have got to keep at it for the next 16 days, because think about this. We're never going to get a fair shake from the corporate media. We're never going to get a fair shake from Kamala Harris and her lying surrogates. What we do have is the power of every single person in this room. So whether it's texting all your friends, whether it's sending emails, whether it's Instagram or X or whatever social media that you use, I want you to try to be a force multiplier over these next 16 days, because I don't just want you to take yourself to the polls. I want every single person in this room to get 9 of their friends and family to the polls with them, because if you do that, we're going to win, and Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States. The country depends on it. The country cannot have 4 more years of disastrous Kamala Harris. We need 4 more years of the candidate of peace and prosperity. Let's get Donald Trump into office, my friends. Let's do it together. God bless you, Wisconsin. Thank you for having me. I love being here. Now, we're not quite done. Let me try to take 3 or 4 questions. Let's start with the local media if we can, and then we'll move on to the national folks if there's time. Yay! Was that to me or to them? First question.
Hi, Mr. Vance. This is Kelly Milan with Spectrum News 1 Milwaukee. Thanks for taking questions. Mr. Vance, how does the Catholics for Trump campaign factor into your broader strategy for winning key battleground states like Wisconsin?
Well, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. I think, look, obviously, every person in this country, if they're here legally, their vote matters. But there are a lot of Catholics as a group there are a lot of Catholics who I think rightfully feel abandoned by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's leadership, and they're just looking for somebody to protect their rights and make this country an affordable and decent place to raise a family. And that's all. I think that's true of a lot of Catholics. It's true of non-Catholics too. But we cannot have an American government that is persecuting Christians for living their faith. We should be rewarding people and encouraging people to live their faith. We believe. Look, you've got people of faith all across the state of Wisconsin who are doing detox facilities for people who are suffering from drug addiction who wouldn't be able to get help were it not for those people of faith. You've got food banks and soup kitchens that are being run in this state every single day because people of faith are living Jesus' greatest commandment, which is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. We have people, we have Christian families that are raising children, and we want them to be able to raise their children as they see fit without having a federal government that is trying to attack their faith. We have Christian organizations that are helping people with daycare and childcare. Why is it that Kamala Harris seems to think that Christians are a bigger threat to this country than the Mexican drug cartels that she has let run rampant all over this country? It's a disgrace. But look, I think as a political matter, because so many Christians are sick of being told by their government that they're not welcome in their own country, I think Christians are going to turn out in a very, very big way for Donald Trump on November the 5th. And if they do, if Christians get out there and vote, we are going to win, my friends. It's that simple. Next question.
Good afternoon, Senator Chuck Quirmbach of WUWM Radio. I had a question for you about Liz Cheney. Vice President Harris and Liz have an event coming up in Brookfield, just a few miles from here, Monday night.
That was for Liz Cheney, okay. Not for you, sir, but go ahead and ask your question.
Well, either way, sir, but what's your opinion of Liz Cheney?
That's too easy. That's too easy. My opinion of Liz Cheney is low. Is that good enough? Look, I have friends. My dear friend is running not too far from here for U.S. Senate for the state of Indiana, Jim Banks, former friend of Liz Cheney. We got a lot of good Jim Banks fans here. I've known a lot of people in Washington who served with Liz Cheney, and what they will tell you to a person is that Liz Cheney is motivated by an obsessive hatred of the people who cost her Wyoming congressional seat. She is not motivated by a love of this country. She's a resentful, petty, small person, and if Kamala Harris wants to parade her around, she's welcome to. One more thing about that is think of the big tent common sense team that Donald Trump has assembled. On the right, you've got folks like Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Nikki Haley. On the left, you've got folks like Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy. Tulsi Gabbard, who picked Kamala Harris apart in her debate so badly that Kamala Harris dropped out of the Democratic presidential contest a few years ago. I think I speak for everybody in this room. We'd much rather have Tulsi Gabbard than Liz Cheney, so that's a trade we'll make every day and twice on Sunday. Next question.
Hi, Senator Vance. Emily Pofall from WISN 12 News here in the area. So early in-person voting starts in Wisconsin on Tuesday. Given what your running mate has said about absentee voting leading to fraud, do you only want people to early vote in person? And does that hinder the Republicans' effort to get out the vote?
I think President Trump has been very consistent on this, and I'm going to be very consistent on it. We want people to vote in every single way that they can. We want every vote to count. We want get out there and vote. Vote by mail, vote absentee, vote early, vote on election day. Here's all that President Trump has said is in the past. Look, in the past, me and President Trump have both said this. I don't like election season. I like election day. But as Donald Trump has said, it is what it is. And if the Democrats are going to use every method of voting possible, then the Republicans, we've got to do it too. We've got to take advantage of the options that are given to us. And so we're going to keep on fighting for election integrity. We're going to keep on trying to pass things like the SAVE Act, which would make it harder for illegal aliens to vote in our elections. We believe in that. But while we fight for every legal ballot to count, we are also going to encourage every single person, if you are sick of the BS from Kamala Harris and just want to get back to common sense, vote however you want to vote, but make sure you get out there and vote because we need it to win this election. Next question. And we'll take a couple more here.
Mr. Vance, Bria Jones with Fox 6 News, Milwaukee. I have a question for you. Good evening. You said that you believe in the wisdom of the people of Wisconsin. In this moment, what words of wisdom would you share with undecided voters?
Oh, that's a good question. I appreciate that, Bree. I guess that what I would say to undecided voters, ma'am, is look, we have the best country in the world. We got the best people, the best natural resources, but we have got broken leadership that is holding this state and holding this country back. We could do so much better. We could make groceries more affordable. We could make housing more affordable. We could secure that southern border. We could lower violent crime in our communities. We've got the will and we've got the talent to do it. We've just got to get Kamala Harris out of the White House. That's what I would say to those undecided voters is, She agrees with me, though I don't think you're undecided. What I think that there are a lot of people, I think, who probably are looking to the future like I did when I was a 17-year-old kid, which is they're worried about paying for the things they got to pay for. They're worried about whether they're going to be able to make ends meet. They're worried an emergency medical bill could bankrupt them and ruin them financially. But they're also fundamentally hopeful because they believe in the promise of this country. I think the best way for America's promise to become more and more fully realized is to fix the broken leadership in Washington and get Donald Trump back in the White House. I really believe that. That's why I'm running to help them. And so, ma'am, I just encourage those swing voters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Because if the answer is no, and I think for most Wisconsinites the answer is no, then let's get Donald Trump back in the White House. That's my pitch. Thank you for your question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Senator. Simon Levy in New York Times. Democrats have begun attacking Jill Stein, the third-party Green Party candidate, because she sought help from Republicans in her campaign efforts. I'm just curious what you make of her candidacy. Do you think she's playing spoiler? Do you hope she siphons support from Harris?
Well, look, the Jill Stein thing is interesting because the Democrats will attack Jill Stein while at the same time attacking, or they're trying to keep Bobby Kennedy on the ballot, even though Bobby Kennedy's already endorsed Donald J. Trump. So I think that Democrats, if they're worried about spoilers, they ought to look in the mirror because Bobby Kennedy had a hell of a lot more support than Jill Stein ever did, and they're trying to prevent him from getting off the ballot. Look, I honestly, I don't know much about Jill Stein. I obviously don't think she's going to get a whole lot of votes, but my attitude is the best person to vote for is Donald J. Trump, and the second best person to vote for is anybody not named Kamala Harris. So I don't really care what people do after that. All right. So let me leave you with just a couple of final thoughts. Number one, I want you to go home and again, whether it's text message, social media, whatever you use or use all of it, get out there and talk about why you're voting for Donald Trump and why you want your neighbors to do the same. That's request number one, okay? Request number two, especially with some of our elderly folks, people who are finding it harder to get the polls, don't just encourage them to go out there and vote. Make a plan to help them vote. You know, I've got family members who, trust me, none of us want on the road, my friends. And we've got other family members who are helping to make sure they've got a plan to drive them to the polls on or before Election Day. I hope you all do that, because we got to win this race and we got to count on everybody's vote in order to do that. But the third thing I want to do is I'm going to embarrass, speaking of family members, I've got my big cousin and her family. She's more like my big sister. We've got Rachel Vance in the room. Rachel, where are you? Well, okay, she was sitting right here. Apparently they pulled her backstage because we're getting ready to wrap up. But Rachel, I love you. Thank you for being here, and thanks for spending some time in the beautiful state of Wisconsin. Now, Rachel's from Texas, so she doesn't necessarily believe that Wisconsin weather's always this nice in late October. But I'm telling you, every time I come to town, the weather's perfect. So just make me vice president. I'll come back all the time, and we can always have beautiful weather in the state of Wisconsin.
Shout out to JD.
But my final thought, my friends, is this. We have a country to save. And when we say that, it's not just about beating the Democrats, as much as it's going to be fun to beat Kamala Harris in just a couple of weeks. It's about giving the American people the kind of government that is going to deliver better prosperity, that's going to make groceries more affordable, that's going to secure that southern border. We've got 16 days to give the American people a government that is fit to lead this great nation. Let's go get it done. God bless you. Thank you, Wisconsin. We'll see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard some people say he might be the future vice president of the United States. What do you think? JD Vance is the new star in the GOP right now. He's the new star in the Republican Party. It's just what it is. 2028 and 2032 is going to be a huge year for this man right here, man. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Okay, the legendary 45th also had a town hall today. Let's see. Let's listen.
Of Americans will cast their ballot. So let's just continue.
I would like to point out, and I mentioned it briefly, but the fact that Mr. President rushed here from a McDonald's in suburban Philadelphia. Okay. You were there for a full hour flipping burgers,
we
the
were
fryer?
there for a while, mostly fries. We didn't get into that. We'll have to come back for the burgers, I think, but mostly fries. And we had a tremendous crowd circling the McDonald's, and the people were great, really. The whole state, the whole, you know what I say, the whole Commonwealth is as good as it gets, right? Don't you think? The whole Commonwealth. And I just want to thank everybody. I think we're going to do really well. We're way up in the polls. We want to keep it that way. We want to keep it too big to rig, you know? It's too big to rig. We got to make it that way. But we're way up now, and we're way up in all of the polls, I think, for the most part. And we want to make America great again. It's very simple. We want to make America great again, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So
honestly, the fact that you chose to go there today and take the time, and I heard a couple of stories of people saying, thank you for taking time for the little people. And your answer?
To me, they're big people. I think everyone's, they're all the same. You know, but they said it was so successful. Honestly, the McDonald's just hit the rockets. I mean, you have to see everything. They said, sir, you don't have to do this stuff. I said, are you crazy? I'm not going to do this. They said, you can avoid this. Can you imagine that? I said, who's going to tell these people? I'm not telling. Hey, maybe we can make this more exciting than the McDonald's stuff. How about that? But there's no way I wasn't coming. I know this area very well, maybe better and some of the greatest people. So it's great to have such a crowd. They have an overflow crowd. They have people outside trying to get in. And I was going to suggest, if anybody would like to give up your seat, anybody? One hand. I've never had anybody raise a hand saying yes. Anyway, thank you very much.
Not happening today, but I thank you so much for making that trek from outside of Philly and now here in Lancaster. And then you have a busy night because we got some football to watch in Pittsburgh. Stop, all you Eagles fans. We can cheer for the Steelers tonight as well. I want to just give you a quick rundown. I mean, this is going to be, you know, Mr. President, he is as organic as it gets, right? So we are going to go everywhere tonight on all different kinds of topics. You may notice there's no teleprompter. Not necessary. We don't need that here. I'm just saying. So we have questions from the audience. We also have questions from a few of the lovely people behind me as well. We're going to go back and forth and take turns. So are you ready for this town hall? Let's go. The first question is someone I believe who is behind me. So you're going to have to tell me. I didn't get to meet you all. Bob, where are you? Hi, Bob. Here we go.
Hi, Bob. Ooh.
Come on up.
I like that outfit. Oh, that's beautiful. Where did you buy that? I want to get one of them.
Okay.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Can you help him out with an outfit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got just your size. Mr. President, I start the afternoon off. My name is Bob. I'm a retired union worker from Hazleton on a fixed income. Many Americans in my position struggle to make ends meet. Will you commit to helping protect Social Security and Medicare benefits?
A great question. The answer is yes. And you know, when you say fixed income, because of Biden and Kamala, nobody knows her as Harris. You know, I can't use the word Harris. And by the way, it's her 60th birthday, so I want to wish her a happy 60th birthday. Right? No? No, happy birthday. And many more, and I mean it, so, you know, I do mean it, actually. I'm just looking at this gentleman. You don't look like you're retired to me. You look like you're in the prime. You could be if you wanted to be, right? You're doing
I'm
great.
trying.
Look at the size of the arms of this guy. I don't know. He looks pretty healthy. So people on fixed income have been decimated by the Biden and Harris regime. This has been horrible what's happened to them because we have, I think in history, I think in the greatest in history, they say no, it's 48 years. But I think we had the greatest inflation just about in the history of our country. They don't include everything. They don't include interest rates going from 2% to 10, but you can't get the money at 10, so therefore it's much higher. But the people that are hurt the most are people on fixed income, like Bob. And we're going to do a lot of things. For one thing, no tax on, you know, on Social Security benefits for seniors. Are you getting Social Security? You don't look. What is your age?
57.
You look a lot younger than that. Doesn't he look handsome? He's a much better looking guy than I am, and look at him. You look good, and you have a good family, great family.
I've got a great family.
That's great. So you were hurt though because of the inflation. I mean, people were hurt because of the inflation, and especially the people that are in fixed income. And here's what we're doing. Number one, no tax on Social Security for our seniors. That's a big deal. No tax on tips also, as you know, and no tax for all different groups we're covering, right? And no tax on overtime. So if you work overtime, that's been the big sleeper. And you know another good one, I think something that's going to be really good is you can fully deduct your interest payments when you buy a car. We never did that. And a Wall Street genius called me up. He said, whose idea was that? It sounds pretty simple, right? But we've never done that. So you buy a car, you're going to be able to fully deduct your interest payment. That's a big deal. So you go out and buy a car. So we're going to do that for you. Also, that's a big thing. Also, very importantly, we're just going to make the economy better. Do you plan on working a little bit in terms of part-time jobs or any of that?
Yes, sir, I still do.
But one of the biggest things we're going to do is the economy is going to get good, but we have more liquid gold. You know, this is what caused the inflation. We had the best, we were energy independent. First time, I think, ever. We're energy independent, and now we're getting oil from Venezuela. We're getting tar from Venezuela because it comes out as tar. We have to heat the hell out of it. And it's done. There's only one place in the whole world that can do it. and that's in Houston, Texas. So for the environmental people, that stuff is going up in smoke in our territory, and we have the best, cleanest, the most oil and gas of any country in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia, Saudi Arabia, all of them. And we're going to be using it. But here's the thing. We will get your energy bill, everybody in the audience, including businesses, down by 50% from 1 year from when we take office. And when that happens, everything else is going to follow. You know, so Sage, it was energy that caused, Bob, it was energy that caused the problem. And it's going to be energy that leads us back into the promised land. The energy went up, and also their spending, their stupid spending. They spend money on the Green New scam at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They just like they could have thrown it out the window. It would have been fine. So, and thank you for doing this. This is great to have you. I've seen so many great stories about this woman. She's a brave woman, a great woman. Beautiful too, but I'm not allowed to say that. That could be the end of your political, you know, if you say that a woman is beautiful today, don't be a politician. It is the end of your political career, but she's beautiful. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. And what I love about what you said there is not just the promises, which, by the way, who was the first person to talk about not taxing tips? I'm just saying. Yes, you were the first.
In fact, they've never said it again. She made it like a couple of months later. She said, and by the way, there won't be. Well, in the meantime, they're passing legislation that makes it very hard for people to skip or will, you know, ruin their lives a little bit. A waitress, I was in my building in Las Vegas, and a waitress came over to me and said, hi. I said, how you doing? The government is killing me. They're after me all the time about tips and all this. And I said, well, that's very interesting. And she said, like, there shouldn't be a tax on tips. I said, that's an interesting idea. This is my consultant. This is a good waitress. She was great. And I said, that's an idea. I thought about it for about 15 minutes, and I said, what a good idea. But, you know, they then came out like a month or two later. They made the statement. They got blown away because by that time, they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to do it. Just like he was going to do the educational thing, you know, with the debt. With debt, you borrow money to go to college, and they were going to just write it off. He's been talking about it for 3 years. It's totally dead. They won't get anything passed. We're going to get it all passed. We're going to get it done very, very quickly. So those things. But from your standpoint, Bob, the Social Security is a big deal. So we'll take care of you.
And okay. I love the fact that Mr. Trump said, within the amount of time. You said, give us a year.
Go fast.
So it's not just a promise, it's, okay, give us a year to get this done. So thank you. That is huge for all Americans.
I have to say that this, it's right, you said 15 days, that's right, it's hard to believe. 15 days until we get to be great again, right? But we have, look, what they did is terrible because this guy won the nomination. He got 14 million votes. I'm not a fan, but he got 14 million votes, many more votes than anybody else. He had 22 people running. Kamala was running too, and she was the first one to drop out. Shockingly, he picked her to run, which, you know, I think he wished he had that decision to do over again. And they took it away from him. They took the presidency away. This is the first time in the history of our country, I mean, it was taken away like you take candy from a baby. And I don't use the word, you know, there are a lot of words to describe it. It's a coup and everything. They took the presidency of the United States away from him. And honestly, they shouldn't be doing it. And, you know, they keep talking about a threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy, and she's a threat to democracy. What they did is a terrible thing. And just to finish, I believe that Joe Biden likes me more than he likes Kamala. And who would think that? And, you know, look, the bottom line, so we had a debate, Joe Biden, we had a debate, and he didn't do great in the debate, but that's understandable. He didn't do well. And his poll numbers went down, but that's okay because you come back from that stuff. And what happened is incredible. Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy, went in, and Schumer and all these guys went in, and they said, we're taking it away. Nobody's ever seen that before. Nobody's ever done it before. And it should, honestly, it should never happen again. It was a terrible thing, I will say that.
I think at the end of the day, all anyone wants, even if your man or woman doesn't win the race, win the competition, is just for it to be done fairly. That's all that people want. So,
I agree.
Here we go, 15 days and counting. We were talking momentarily here about taxes and no taxes on tips, et cetera, and I believe our first question from the audience is on that topic as well. Where's the microphone?
Right here. Hello.
Here we go.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hello.
My name is Suki. We've actually met before.
Uh-oh.
I have the tattoo.
Here we go.
I have the tattoo, the portrait tattoo on my leg. We met September 14th in Jim Worthington.
Oh, good. He's a good man. That's right.
And I have your portrait on my leg every single day. I get to show everyone. I love and honor you.
All right, there's our story for the day.
Go ahead with your question.
Okay, Mr. President, again, my name is Suki. I have worked as a server bartender. I am a mom of 4 boys. My oldest is headed to medical school. My oldest son is a professional boxer. And 2 of my boys are MMA fighters.
Wow. Ooh. That means she's got those good fighting genes. That's what it means. Wow. Are they good? Are they pretty good? How are they doing?
He's all over TV.
Wow. Wow, that's great.
I am a proud mom. Most of my income comes from tips. Making ends meet in the economy is hard. Can you tell us your plan to lower taxes for working Americans like myself?
Well, number one, we're going to make the economy much better. I mean, that's bigger than anything we can do, is make the economy better. We're not going to let foreign countries come in and steal our businesses, our jobs, and everything else, which has been happening for years. And I must tell you, and I always tell them, why didn't you do something? When we were there, I did a lot about that. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had the strongest border in the history of our country. I don't know if they have the chart, because this is such a different forum from from making a speech or doing a rally, but we have a chart that's an amazing chart. In fact, it's probably my favorite chart of all time. Because I wouldn't be here without that chart. And oh, good. We wouldn't be here. We definitely wouldn't be. But if you take a look, see the arrow on the bottom? That arrow is my final day in office, and we had the lowest illegal immigration that we've had, I guess, probably in history, certainly in recorded history, and it was going lower. And we were going to let people in. We want to have people come in, but they have to come in legally. We have to know they love our country. They can. That's right. We don't want people coming in that were up for murder, and not only up for murder, convicted. We have 13,099 convicted murderers that were released into our country from the prison systems, penitentiaries in other countries. And the last count, 180 countries when you think of it. And we just can't let that happen. We also, drug dealers, gang members, everybody. And if you look at Venezuela, if you look at a lot of these countries where they came from, they opened up their prisons and they allowed the people to come out. And honestly, I would have done the same thing about it. It's called open borders. They heard we were open. They took them out. Thank you. Oh, it's so cute. Look at her. She's very politically wise at that young age, right? Both. These are young kids, and everybody's liking politics nowadays. Well, we better win or they're not going to like it too much, I can tell you, right? They're not going to like it. So we can't let that happen. We're going to make our economy great, and you're going to really come along with it. And all of those other things that I talked about, including no taxes on tips, all of that's going to be just something very special for you.
That'll be a great thing.
Thank you. And tell your boys to do great. I'll be watching, okay?
Ethan Mercado, look out for him.
Okay, we'll be watching. We'll be watching.
President Trump.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suki. And I think that is something that has not been talked about enough. We will get there a little bit later in this town hall as well, but the effects on the economy because of the open border. Yes, safety, but also the financial drain and every aspect. So we'll get into that a little bit more as well.
I have to tell you that, if you look at the polls, they'll tell you that the biggest thing is the economy. Second thing is the border, but I think this is bigger than the economy. I think when you talk about the economy, I think you have to include inflation in the economy, because the inflation's the worst we've ever had. I think it's just absolutely, You know, in the old days, they used to call inflation a country buster. You go back hundreds of years, Germany had big inflation. It was destroyed. Other countries were destroyed by inflation. With all of that, I think what's happening at our border, where they're allowing millions of people to come into our country every year, totally unchecked and unvetted, coming from prisons and mental institutions and coming in as terrorists. We have the highest level of terrorism, highest level of terrorists that we've ever had. We've never had this many terrorists come in. We had 1 year where and I don't even believe this myself, the Border Patrol made these charts, and in 1 year, in 2019, I guess it was, they had 0 were allowed. Now, I think it's probably wrong. It must have been some, but 0. They put it down as 0. And this was not from me. This was from them. And the following year, it was 11. And now we have thousands of terrorists coming into our country. And nothing good can happen with that. Nothing good is going to come out of that. So I really think it's a big part of the economy, too. But I think the #1 threat that we have, and I actually think the thing that people are going to be voting on most is what's happening on our southern and but our southern border. And I think it's the #1 thing that people want to talk about.
Yes, I totally agree. And we love that chart, too.
I love
we
that
love
chart.
that chart, too.
I sleep with it. I kiss it when I go to bed.
That's a great visual, Mr. President. Let's keep it going on the topic of safety. Our next question is also from the audience here. His name is Chris. Chris, yell out. Where are you? Here we go. Same spot as Suki. Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mr. President. Thank you for coming to Lancaster. As the Lancaster County Sheriff, I'm committed to upholding public safety and reducing crime in our community by working closely with local law enforcement and other partners. How does your plan for law and order in your next term support local sheriffs, like myself, to ensure we have the resources needed to protect our communities?
Great question. Are you the current sheriff?
I am. Yes, yes, sir.
Wow, that's pretty good. You look like it. That's pretty good.
Can I, real quickly, this is a statistic that I know you know, Chris. In the Commonwealth, 49 of 67 county sheriffs have endorsed Donald J. Trump.
I was one of them.
And the rest are coming because nobody's endorsing. We have the endorsement of almost every law enforcement agency group in the country, so it's good. They have none. I don't think they have any. So thank you very much. I'll give you an answer to that. So we have to protect our law enforcement. We have to indemnify them against the bad things. You know, if you do your job, well, oftentimes they go after you. They want your house. They want your pension. They want to fire you. They want to. We can't have that. We have great people, and we have people that have to be given back their authority and their respect because our cities are blowing up. We had the worst crime that we've ever had in the last year. Remember the other day, pretty recently, we were at the debate where I was debating with David Muir of ABC Fake News. And I said, we have crime at a level that we've never had it. And a lot of it's migrant crime now. The migrants are coming and they're causing crime and they're tough as hell. And they're causing they're taking over like Aurora and in Colorado. And I mean, they're taking over buildings. They're in the real estate business all of a sudden, but they're vicious people and they're taking over. And he said, no, the crime is down. Crime is down. I said, crime's not down. No, it's down. The following day, they released the figures, and crime is up 45%. And I haven't gotten this guy, David Muir. Everything I said, I said, who am I debating here? I had 2 of them from ABC, and I had her. She was the easy one, but they were terrible. They never questioned her on one thing, but he said, crime is down. No, crime is way up. And the FBI, we have to look at this, because the FBI put out charts that crime was down initially, because they didn't report certain little areas of the country, like the worst areas in the country for crime. And it turned out that their stats were very wrong and very misleading. But he was wrong because it's up like at least 45%. That's an incredible. You take a look at Venezuela, take a look at some of these countries that are taking all their gang members and their criminals off the streets and giving them to us. Their crime is down 40, 50, 60, 70%. So we're going to give you back the dignity and the respect. You know, we have great respect for you, and we're not going to let this happen. You can stop crime. You just have to be given the go-ahead. You go to Chicago, you go to a lot of cities, and they rob a department store, and guys are walking out with refrigerators. They have it on their back with 2 friends, and air conditioning and everything. And they literally are stripping, and the police are standing outside, and they're shaking out of anger because they really want to do something, but they're told to stand down, stand down. And they're watching these criminals walk out. We're not going to have that happen. We're not going to let that happen. So thank you very much, Sheriff. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I think, unfortunately, since you left office, and certainly 2020 and COVID and George Floyd, I mean, it has been tough, and that's why I think we're all so grateful for the men and women in blue, because you do put your lives on the line every single day. So thank you, Chris, honestly, and for being a leader there. But I'm sure that is something that these sheriffs have to worry about, to encourage men and women to come back to the police force, that they will be supported on a federal level.
It's become more and more dangerous. I mean, I visited a great family in Long Island where a policeman who was killed said, please open the door. They opened the door and they start firing. The windows were darkened. They opened the door and they start firing. There's not a thing you could do, even if you were allowed, and they're not allowed, to open the door with a gun in your hand. You're still not going to make it because you can't beat that kind of speed. I mean, he's got a gun. And they started firing. He died. I went to the funeral. He died, and I paid my respects to the most beautiful family, and they can't even believe it. But the wife was telling me that she was so afraid it was going to happen. And things are happening today. It's a very dangerous profession. Of course, being president is a very dangerous profession also. You know, we were going over that the other day. 0.1% of race car drivers, that's pretty dangerous, right? 0.1% race car drivers die. 0.1%, these guys that ride the bulls, I mean, say what you want, they are very brave. That is, but 0.1%, similar to like the race car stuff. With presidents, it's a lot of them. If you think about it, you know, you got Lincoln and Kennedy and McKinley and this and that, or get shot at, many shot at, Reagan and Ford. And this is a very dangerous profession, but I wouldn't change it for anything, because we're going to turn our country around. We're going to turn our country around, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it fast. Thank you.
And it does start with Americans being able to feel safe in their cities and towns every single day. It's interesting because was it just this past week when you sat down with the Wall Street Journal and called them out on a couple of things, I think is safe to say. Is that the best way to describe it? He let them know what he thought about the ways that they had reported things, and certainly the way that even questions were being asked. And if you look back at that factually, whether it be tariffs, whether it be crime, like we were just discussing, whether it be the border, whether it be COVID, they were wrong about a lot of things, and you called them out on that. In particular, with what we were talking about with the southern border.
Well, we have to take care of our border. Our border is so important. And you look, it's just common sense. People are coming through that are criminals. You're going to have more crime. And if you remember where Kamala was saying, no, the people that come into our country, they don't commit crime. They are far tougher. The one thing nice, our criminals look like very nice people by comparison to these people are vicious. The level, you just take a look at some of these gangs that are coming in. So our criminals look much nicer than they used to. That's the only thing we can say, but that's not much. The Wall Street Journal was interested. I had like a 2.5-hour meeting with them, and it was a great meeting. I respect the Wall Street Journal a lot. And we had with the editorial board, and they actually wrote a beautiful story about it, but the one thing they said that was great, we've watched this guy for 20 years. The one thing we know is that he's got no cognitive problem. I have no cognitive. She may have a cognitive problem, but there's no cognitive problem. It was nice that they actually said that. They said, you know, if anyone has any questions, we were grilling this guy for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, got no cognitive. In fact, if anything, he's maybe better. I don't even know if I like this. Maybe he's better than he was 20 years ago. So anyway, no, and I actually call for a cognitive test for all people wanting to run for president. I think not based on age. You know, some of the greatest leaders in the world, and I'm not 80, and I'm not that close to 80, but in the Biden case, he's 81 or 82. And you know, that's okay, because I know people that are unbelievably successful. By the way, a man who's very successful is Rupert Murdoch, and he's 93 or 94. He was at a meeting that I had the following day, and he's sharp as you can be. I mean, he's the same guy that I've known for 25, 30 years. He's sharp, and he's in his 90s. We've had some of the greatest leaders in world history that are in their 80s. But it was very interesting, because in reading the article, it was a great article, but I appreciated that they said that. It's very nice that they say it. I've done cognitive tests. I've done them twice, and I aced both of them. And the doctor, in one case, said, I've never seen anybody ace them. They've never seen anybody ace them. But I'd like to see cognitive tests for anybody running for president or vice president. I think it's important in a way.
And it should have nothing to do with the number, the age, in my opinion.
No,
it's all about the test, and turn them in and make that part of the requirement.
You know, I did ask about it, though. Why can't they? They say it's unconstitutional, which I think is too bad or ridiculous. But I'd like to see that. I think it would be great if we could have, you know, good, strong tests for people that are running for president, vice president. They do say, however, it's unconstitutional. Who likes the idea of that? I do. Yeah.
Well, there's an age minimum, so add that to it, 35 years and a cognitive test. Because you could be 41 and have cognitive issues, right? I mean,
I've said it for a long time, and I think it would be a great thing if we could do it.
Let me ask you one more time to wrap up the topic of the border, because the second you left office and Biden-Harris took over, they immediately implemented changes and changed drastically so many of these
99 changes, can you believe?
Immediately.
Like remain in Mexico. Like, you got to remain in Mexico. You can't. That's a little change, right? And you think that was easy to get from Mexico? I said, we want them to, and because of tariffs, I said, look, if you don't agree, I'm going to charge you 25% tariffs. They said, we would love them to remain in Mexico. I'll never forget. They were so against it.
So how quickly can these be implemented again and changes made?
Almost immediately. Remember one thing. I watched her the other night about a bill. The bill was a disaster, by the way. It was a horrible bill. Would have let people have immunity. It would have given people, millions of people would have allowed it to come in aimlessly. It was a hopeless, horrible bill. But she always uses that. And we would institute, you know, she's trying to get tough now on the border after 4 years of destroying our country. Now, all of a sudden, a couple of months ago, they went to a little bit tougher. The only thing she didn't stop are airplanes flying over the border, loaded up. You know how many people? Hundreds of thousands of people come in by airplane. They didn't stop that. They forgot. I think they said they forgot. You know, they want to show a little toughness. But look, we need strong borders. We need great elections. If we don't have great elections and strong borders, then we don't have a country. Those two things, and other things, but those two things are at the top of the list. We have to have strong borders, and we want people to come in.
Yes.
But we want people to come in that can really do it, that can do a job. And we're going to get that. We're going to get that. But we have to get rid of the people. We have to get rid of the people that are now there. She is so bad. Remember what she said.
I'm sorry, when you say get rid of the people who are there, some of the illegals that are here?
No. I'm talking about the politicians.
The politicians,
that are allowing
okay,
this
I'm making
to
sure.
No, we have to get rid of the politicians. And remember what she said? She was interviewed on numerous shows and she couldn't come up. What would you do different? I can't think of anything. I don't know. She can't think. Do you know that 325,000, now think of a stadium, a big stadium being filled up many times. 325,000 children are dead or missing under there. They came across the border or they didn't. They're all dead, missing, or into sex slavery or slavery. 325, many of them are dead. I'm sure many of them are dead. Probably their parents will never see their parents. Like any parent, they want to see them. They get kidnapped, they get taken. 300, and they come through an open border. They're missing or dead, or they're in slavery. 325,000. Think of that. Think of what that means. The numbers, like unheard of. And remember, what would you do different? Nothing. I wouldn't do anything different. So immediately she's disqualified because he's the worst president in our history. She's the worst vice president in our history. And to think that, you know, she's running for president is pretty ridiculous.
I feel like you all will agree with me that this is no one here or in this country that I speak to, and you speak to a lot more people than I do, is anti-immigration. It's about doing it the right way. And now we sit here, and I know you hear this everywhere you go, Mr. President, where you hear people saying, send them back, send them back. That process is not easy. No, but we obviously cannot even take care of the tax-paying Americans in this country. Yeah. So when you hear send them back, and some should be sent back based on a quote-unquote resume, what is that process like?
So let me just tell you, again, it gets down to the sheriff and local police. They know everybody in town. They know their names, their middle names. They have serial numbers. They've got everything. They know everything. They know all about these horrible criminals coming in from Venezuela, coming in from Colombia. They know everyone. Local police. The local police will work with others. And look, from a practical standpoint, it's very tough because there'll be one woman with 2 beautiful children who gets brought back, and there'll be tears, and the Times and all these crazy newspapers will do stories about one person when you're, so it's a very difficult thing. But we start with the murderers. We know who they are. We don't know everything about them because they've been let in without being vetted. But we start with the murderers. Nobody wants to have murders. These are people that some were getting the death penalty. They were going to be executed in their own. Some killed more than 5 people. Some killed more than 2 people. One killed like 9 or 10 people. We want them out. We start with them. We start with the drug dealers. We start with the people that are causing. Oh, by the way, you start also with the terrorists. You got to get them out. And then we start figuring out what the hell we're going to do, because what they've done to our country, what they have done, and I'll tell you who is affected most, the black population, the Hispanic population, because their jobs are being lost. People that had jobs for years are losing their job now to people that came into our country illegally. So that's a really, and they're starting to see it. The black population over the last short period of time, their numbers, their unemployment numbers have just skyrocketed. The reason is people coming into the country illegally are taking their jobs. So, and I'll tell you what's going to be affected very much are going to be unions, but you're going to see things happening that are just, it's just too much. In one town in Ohio, a town of, think of this, a town of 52,000 people, they put 32,000 illegal migrants in this town, right? 32,000 illegal migrants into a 52,000 people town. In Aurora, they have people that are running out, walking down the streets carrying weapons. And the landlords of the building is saying, I don't know what I'm going to do here. They're collecting the rent in the building for themselves. I mean, and this is happening all over. This is happening all over the country. We mentioned a few different places. And a lot of mayors don't want to talk about it because it's bad for the reputation of the state and the town or the city that they're in. But look at New York, what's happened. Look at Chicago. Look at Los Angeles, what's happening. Our country's being destroyed by incompetent politicians. And all they have to do, remember this, when they say a bill, she always said the bill wasn't passed because the Senate wouldn't want to go against Trump. It had nothing to do with me. The bill was no good. But listen, all the president has to do is she gets to the White House, wakes him up. They call because if it's after 4 o'clock, he sleeps after 4 o'clock. Get him the hell down to the Oval Office and say, President, sign the bill. All he has to do is say, the borders are closed. Tell that to the Great Border Patrol. The borders are closed, and those borders, that's what I did. I didn't have a bill. I had the best border maybe ever. I didn't have a bill. I just said, close the borders now. And they were closed. You don't need a bill for that.
They have been saying that for years now, that they needed to get it approved in Congress and all.
You don't need approval. I didn't have a bill. I didn't have a bill. I said, close the borders. My father used to tell me when, we'd hire some guy and, sir, could I have a letter of authorization that I got this job? And my father always used to say to me, son, every time they need a letter, they never work out to be any good. The guys that don't need a letter, those are the ones that you want. Because when they ask for a letter, that means they don't have it. This guy, so what happens is you call up the head of the Border Patrol, you call up the group, and you say, effective immediately, the borders are closed, and they close up. And that's what I had. I didn't have a bill. I closed up the borders.
And the billions of dollars that are being spent across the country to pay for the education, the health care, the rent, the insurance for illegal aliens can go to Americans, can go to minorities, can be spent on veterans who are on the streets homeless. So I have hope, and we're going to hold you to this.
But you know, it's not financially feasible or sustainable for us to be paying for not for hundreds, for millions and millions of people. It's estimated now that the real number is over 21 million people in 3.5. 21 million people came into this country. Many of them are seriously bad people.
And that's why the graphic is the best graphic ever.
I was wondering who that was. It's the fake news. No, these guys are great. These are the photographers. When they take good pictures, I like them. When they take bad pictures of me, I don't like them. They usually turn out to be not so nice, but that's okay. Here's a man. Pulitzer Prize, Doug. Pulitzer Prize. It's the only thing good about the New York Times is Doug. Pulitzer Prize, everybody. Pretty good. He's good. He's a good guy. They're all good guys. Very talented guys. Good.
Yes, we pay extra close attention to any movement up near the stage.
I was wondering who's
days,
coming in. I was looking. I was getting ready. Put up your dukes. Here we go.
Here we go again, yes. Back to the audience. Where is Paul for a question? I got to get to work. He's behind me.
Hello, Paul.
All right, Paul, let's go. Hi. You ready?
Yes, ma'am. And to kind of talk a little more about the border. My name is Paul, and I served in the United States Army and the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Thank you.
We got to get you on camera, you know?
Let me get up. These are the most uncomfortable chairs, but I think we'll get them. There is no chair like that chair.
I'm so glad you said it.
How are you? Nice to see you, man.
Very nice to meet you, President.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, right now members of the National Guard are mobilized because of the crisis at the border. How soon will the wall get finished if you're elected?
So the wall, we built hundreds of miles of wall, more than I said I was going to be doing. And again, I had a hard time with Congress on the wall. I took it out of the military because we rebuilt the military. We had a lot of money in the military. We took out billions because I considered it an invasion of our country. It was very easy. And we then got sued by Nancy, crazy Nancy, and all the Democrats. And we got sued 11 different times. We won all the suits. It was brutal, but we were sued a lot. And we got hundreds of miles of wall built. And then I said, let's add some more. And one of the reasons we did have the great success is because I got the wall built. I was building wall at levels that nobody had ever seen. And we were going through tremendous obstacles. It was hard, but we got it done. And then I said, let's add 200 miles because there were certain areas. You know, it's interesting. When you add wall here, you got to add a little more wall here. And it was just it's like water. It's like water. And we were ready to do that. We ordered 200 miles. It was ready to be thrown up. It could have been thrown up in 3 to 4 weeks. And then we had a very unfortunate election. And these characters took over. And I said, you know, something's going on. They're not putting up the wall. They have to put up the wall. It would have been unbelievable, totally secure, very hard to get through the wall. That was the wall specifically that Border Patrol and all of them wanted. This is the one that they wanted. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to have concrete plank going up 30 or 40 feet. They said has to be steel, has to have, you know, have to be able to see through it, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a combination of steel, concrete, and then rebar in the middle, each one of those pieces. And then they have, I told this here, they have an anti-climb panel on the top. And I hated it because I didn't like the way it looked. With these things were so beautiful. And we had to put the anti-climb. But I said, no way I'm going to do that. I hate it. It was costly, but I hated it. And then we had people climbing. And it's true, the anti-climb panel is exactly what it is. It was much harder. So I said, all right, we'll do it. But this is exactly what they wanted. And they didn't want to put it up. And that's the first time that I realized that they actually want an open border. Who would want an open border? It's like, who would want an open border? Who would want men playing in women's sports? Who would want all these transgender operations on your children? So we built a tremendous amount of wall, and we were going to do another 200. But I got Mexico to come in, and they gave us thousands and thousands of troops while we were building the wall. That was hard to do. Remember, I always said Mexico will pay. They paid much more than what I was talking about. They gave us troops. They did a really good job. They didn't want to do it. They said, no way. And I said, way. And they said, no, we're not doing it. And I said, if you're not doing it, I'm going to charge you a 25% tariff. And they said, these tariffs, I'm telling you, it's my favorite word in the dictionary, outside of love and religion. Love and religion. But, so I said, we're going to charge you. And we got the troops from Mexico free of charge. And they were, it really did the trick. We had great success. But the net result is all of this wall that we built, they ended up selling for 5 cents on the dollar. Very expensive stuff, too. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And Texas wanted to use it, Arizona wanted to use it, and the federal government wouldn't sell it to them. And they sold a lot of it for 5 cents on the dollar. These are people that hate our country. I'm convinced of it. There's something, you got to vote them out. We got to get back to common sense, right? Thank you.
How immediate is that process? We talked about sending certain individuals back. How immediate is the wall process? Can they begin building right away?
Yeah, the wall. Yeah. I've become very good at building walls, actually. Remember, there's only 2 things that work. Everything's obsolete other than that. See their cameras? Look at these beautiful cameras they have. In 2 weeks, they'll be obsolete, right? Everything. The computers are going to be up. 2 things. What are the 2 things? Wheels and walls. They're not obsolete. They always work. And you can always have a wheel and a wall, right? Look at her. She was the one that was crying. If she was crying, that means she likes, you like Trump. Look, she's crying again.
She's crying again. Here we go.
Stand up, show everybody.
Oh.
Very nice. Thank you, sweetheart. Are your friends as passionate as you? Yes, well. Oh, boy, I'm glad they have those good seats. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We call these, don't we call these happy tears? These are happy tears, of course.
Those are tears that are happy tears.
Okay, let's keep it going. Olivia, I'm not sure, is Olivia in the audience or is Olivia on stage? Hello, Olivia. Come join us. You get to stand in the middle here. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Olivia, and I'm a first-time voter from Stevens and a college student. Based on the inflation and weak job market, it seems like a big stretch that I'll ever be able to own a home. What is your plan to help bring down inflation and make life more affordable for Americans like me who are just starting off?
And a home is a big deal, right? Yeah. You can't have the American dream because I'm giving the American dream. I gave up so much during that 4-year period. We had the greatest economy. We had the greatest everything, and people were back to a thing called the American dream. I'm so glad you used the term. We're going to get interest rates way down. There are some places, 35% the cost of a home are regulations and nonsense that shouldn't be, between long-term zoning where it takes years and years to get it developed. We're going to take a lot of that out. I did, and they put a lot of it back in. The environmental approvals are terrible, just terrible, so ridiculously bad. And we're going to get it taken care of. We'll bring down the cost. The biggest thing with 2 things: make the economy good so you get a lot of money, right? Make the economy good. And the other thing is interest rates. We're going to get interest rates. Right now, you can't get money. Even if you had a good job, you're paying 10%, you're paying 11, 12%, and you can't get it. When I was president, it was 2.2% interest, and now, and the money was all over the place, and now you can't get the money. So we're going to make sure that you can get the money. And who's going to occupy that house with you?
Right now, it's just me.
But a beautiful family eventually, right? I'll bet. Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. How about that first-time voter, Olivia?
Great.
Gets to ask the president a question. You go, girl. Good job. Let's keep it up.
Right.
Where's Ty? Ty, hello. Come on up here, too. Right in the middle.
I like that. You like that, everybody? Should I do it? Should I do it? What do you think? Should I grow one of
the goatee?
She said yes. Yeah, why not? Come on. Thank you very much. Looks good.
Good evening, Mr. President. We'd like to first thank you for being here and taking questions from us. The people of Carbon County would like to thank you for your service and commitment for making America great again. My name is Ty. I'm a small business owner. I've seen the detrimental effects of Kamala on the war, on coal, and rising energy costs. When you were president, the average price for gas around here was about $2.50. Today at the Wawa on the corner, it was $3.34. That difference over 4 years adds up. What is your plan to help businesses like myself, especially with the cost of energy?
So we actually had, and the big thing is going to be the cost of energy. Energy is so big, it's so like amorphous, it's all over the place. If you make donuts, it's a stove and the truck to bring them to wherever they're being delivered. The biggest thing is energy with this, with what you're talking about. We're going to get that way down. And our price per gallon was actually, we had it down to $1.87 a gallon. And we had actually the $3.50 was up to, that you had mentioned, that was up to $4, $5, and $6, and it was heading up again, and then they went back quickly. You know, they ended my energy policy, and they were getting killed, and they went back to it. What they don't say is that they went back to it. You know, they said, we're getting killed here the day after the election. If they won this election, they're going to go to a no fossil fuel deal. You're going to have all electric, and you're going to say, oh, I can't go far. It costs too much, and they're made in China. And you know, we love Elon Musk, and he makes a, and I think, and I will tell you, and I think these electric, what he does is incredible. What, you know, the electric cars are great, but it's a certain application. Some people would like them, depending on distances. If you want to go long distances at this moment, maybe not. But you know, the amazing thing about Elon, you know, he's in Pennsylvania today campaigning for me. Can you believe it? And the Tesla is a great car, but I will tell you, but he will be the first to tell you, and he never called me once because I hit them hard because they have this electric mandate that in a very short period of time, everyone's forced to have an electric car. Well, what about hybrids? What about regular gasoline-propelled cars? We have more gasoline than anybody, but China has the product to make the batteries, so it's not a good thing for us. I've never had a call, and I speak to him a lot. He's incredible. How about that rocket that came down a few days ago? How cool was that? I called him up. I said, was that you? He said, yes. Nobody else can do that. Russia can't do it. China can't do it. And the U.S. can't do it, other than it's him. But no, he's incredible. But you know, amazing thing, he never once called me up and said, give you my word, I never once called me up and said, lay off the electric, would you? He gave me the greatest endorsement. He understands he's going to have a tremendous market. There's a great market for that, but not 100% of the market. It's, you know, gasoline and hybrid. And there's another one, hydrogen. Did you ever hear that? That's a new one. But here's the problem. He knows. Mr. Wall, please stand up. He's heard this before. This gentleman has come to 300 rallies. He likes me. You know, he's a very successful guy, too. He just likes these rallies. He'd rather be watching this than some crummy football game, right? But, you know, what is happening is there is a lot of great technology, but hydrogen is not acceptable because it's better than anything except when there's a problem. It has a tendency to blow up. And when it blows up, you are unrecognizable. They call the wife down, would you please examine, not really the body, because there's no body, it's just a pile of stuff. And I don't want the hydrogen, if you don't mind. You know, it's one of those things, it's really wonderful, but when it doesn't work, you're dead. We don't want that. So we'll come to another, but there'll be other, over a period of time, there'll be other things. We're going to get those interest rates down. We're going to, and I'm telling you, I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again. We have more liquid. Think of it, we have more gasoline and gas, and we have oil converted easily into gasoline. Also oil for your house, for your air conditioning, for your heating. We will have your electric bills and all of your energy bills down by, we're going to cut it in half. Anything you're paying right now, and that's going to make your business strong by itself. That's good. And it'll be done within 1 year. Because what are we going to do? Drill, baby, drill. Frack, baby, frack.
Frack, baby,
We're going to frack. We're going to frack and drill, okay? Thank you, man.
And
Thank
Ty.
you. Oh, good, I will. I will.
And Ty, what is your business?
I own a bar and restaurant in Lehighton, Pennsylvania, in the Carbon County.
What's the name of it?
Boatyard Bar and Grill, just outside of Jim Thorpe.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love this topic because we know how many small businesses were decimated, especially after COVID and what has happened since then. So, Ty, we're here for you. Go hang out at Ty's bar. Why not?
The one thing, sounds good. I'll bet it's a good place. Got a lot of action, right? Oh, Stan Musial? Oh, I see, Dan Muser. Is Dan here? Oh, where's Dan? Is it that good, Dan? I thought he said Stan Musial, Stan the man, remember? Hi, Dan, how are you? Who do we have here? Look, come on up here for a second, Dan. Am I allowed to do, because this is our host, so I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but what do you think? One of our great Congress people. You know, under this forum, we don't really
Secret Service
announce our Congress people, our senators. And you're going to tell me who else is here with you, Dan. Come on up. This guy is fantastic. Congressman Dan Muser. How are we doing? Most importantly, Dan, most importantly, he's very much involved with the election. How are we doing?
We're doing great, Mr. President. And you know why? Because the enthusiasm for you has never been higher. And hey, how about it, everyone? We have so much to thank you for. What you did as president, our country was never stronger. What you're doing now, you and your family, what you've gone through for surviving, we thank you very much for that. And folks, how about we're going to be thanking him so much when he truly makes America great again. It's all going to happen pretty fast.
Thank you, Dan. Lloyd, come on up here, Lloyd. Come on up here. Lloyd Schmucker, Congressman, Warrior. Lloyd Schmucker. Come on up here, Lloyd. Thank you very much. That's great. That's great.
Hi, Lloyd.
These are two warriors.
He had no idea he's being called on stage, did you?
No, not at all. But I can tell you, this is the district that I represent, and these are a room full of people who love you, Mr. President.
They love him, too.
And I'll also tell you, the enthusiasm is higher than 4 years ago and even 8 years ago right now. We're seeing volunteers like we haven't seen before. We're going to win this area big.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd. Thank you. Good. Oh, I'm lucky. Oh, you have no idea the hell that I'd have to... If we would have said goodbye and these two warriors weren't introduced, I would have had a problem. I would have felt very badly good. Is there anybody else? You're going to go for McCormick. I know that, David.
Do you know what I enjoyed watching? Was the expressions on the faces of the Secret Service as he's inviting people on stage, right?
They're not happy. They don't get too happy. That's right. They're saying, excuse me, sir, they won't be allowed on the stage. Anyway, this has been really great.
You ended the question with Ty about frack, baby, frack. And
it's frack, baby, frack. She is not going to frack, by the way. She's been against fracking. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will do it. You know, with a politician... Take a look at their initial record. That's what they go back to. She's only doing this because of the election. She just changed all these policies. She changed 15 different policies. She wanted the transgender operations, I mean, almost at will. And a lot of them, though, the taxing, she wants to do a capital gains tax on, think of this, on unrecorded values. Think of this. If it goes up, you don't have any cash, it goes up, she'll put everybody out of business. She wants a capital gains tax that's going to destroy the country. She wants to raise your taxes to 70 or 80%, kill all your jobs, chase everybody out to other countries. You know, businesses today, they will leave our country. They're international businesses, the big ones. And you want to get cute, everyone's going to pay. They say one day, I'm going to Asia, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to Germany, let's say, I'm going someplace. We can't do this. She wants capital gains taxes that have never been even tried before. They will destroy the country. This woman is so incompetent. She's so bad. You cannot, and I would normally not like to speak like that. If they get chosen, our country's finished. You know, Elon Musk is a very smart guy. You got to see his endorsement. He said, if this election isn't won by Donald Trump, our country is essentially finished. That's a hell of a statement for him to make. And he's a totally brilliant guy. This guy's got so much. And I have to say, and I've said it before, I said it yesterday at a rally, he makes something that Starlink that I never heard of it, but it's great. It's communication. North Carolina, Georgia had some areas that were not, basically it's communication. It's a communication system. But especially North Carolina is the job that it was just totally demolished. They had no communications. People were dying. The federal government failed, worse than Katrina. They did nothing. The White House, her and Biden did nothing. And they needed to get Starlink. They said, do you know Elon Musk? I said, I do. What? Because I was there. They said, is there a way we could get Starlink? So I called him up, and he had that to them so fast. It was unbelievable. And you can't get it. The congressmen know this. And so I just want to thank Elon Musk. But when you look at his endorsement, where he endorsed me, I mean, he's not going around all over Pennsylvania day and night, day and night. It's like he's running. He just feels that our nation, if it doesn't win this election, the nation is not going to survive. It's not going to survive.
It has been incredible
to watch. So I want to thank Elon.
Yes, it has been a blessing to watch him. Without the First Amendment, we have nothing. And Elon Musk has come. Buying Twitter was an incredible thing to do. And I think all of us are so grateful for him appreciating what America was founded upon. I will say about the fracking, to wrap that part up, fortunately, we do have something called videotape. And in 2019 and several times since Kamala Harris has said she would ban fracking, and now we come back and a lot of flip-flopping on that. So just like with the border, when I asked timing and how quickly, we're in the Keystone State. We're in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, fracking. I mean, this is a gold.
Do you want to put up,
here.
do we have one of those fracking statements that she made? Because here, you know, we put it up sometimes, but Pennsylvania specifically.
Yes.
It's about fracking. Can they put that fracking tape up if they could do it? I don't know if they can do it. This is a different forum. But if they can, put up the frack.
I'm committed to passing a Green New Deal and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
If they fail to act as President of the United States, I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass it in.
I am offering a Green New Deal that has been described as one of the most aggressive and progressive.
What is it a Green New Deal?
It is a resolution. I believe that the underlying principles behind it are sound and important.
What is the solution for voters who have jobs and interests in the fossil fuel industry?
Giving the workers the ability to transition into the jobs of the future.
Of course he's going to go on. It's not about cost.
So there you heard it. Good job backstage. Give me my wife. I said, give me that fracking statement. No, she doesn't want fracking. She's never wanted fracking. And by the way, she destroyed one of the greatest cities in the world, San Francisco, destroyed it. It's not even livable. She destroyed it, and she destroyed, along with Gavin Newsom. Have you heard of him? Terrible, one of the worst governors. He'll go down as one of the worst governors in history. Gavin Newsom. But the two of them destroyed California. How do you destroy California? The ocean, the temperature, everything is, it's like a perfect place. They're destroying it. They had more people leave it, think of it, than come in. First time, I think, ever. It's an incredible place, and they have virtually destroyed it. And she's not going to, she will not destroy, we're not going to let her destroy America. That's all there is to it.
Fracking. How soon, how quickly, how much in Pennsylvania?
Well, we have to go. You know, what you're doing is fracking, but you can do much more. You can do double and triple what you're doing right now. You're restricted by so many different things that they put on. So we're going to let them frack, like a duck. Frack. You can do 3 times what you're doing now and even 4 times, and you can do it. And it won't have any impact on you. It's not going to have any impact. So we can, and tremendous money. You can lower your taxes for the state. Great for the country. But you're in a state that has tremendous, capability that you wouldn't even think. You don't think of Pennsylvania. When you think of Pennsylvania as a commonwealth and having to do with fracking, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have thought. But now it's your biggest, most important thing. It's 5. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania produces 500,000 energy jobs. They'd be wiped out. They'd be wiped out. So they can actually do a lot more if they wanted to, if they were allowed. I will allow them to do a lot more. We're going to get your energy bills down at a level that you haven't seen before. It's going to make a big difference.
And here we go. We have time for one final question. Sarah, come on up, girlfriend.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Nice to have you here.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Sarah. I'm a veteran, U.S. Marine veteran, and
great.
And I'm a Purple Heart recipient.
Wait. They didn't hear this part. This is very important. Please say it again, Sarah.
I'm a U.S. Marine veteran and a Purple Heart recipient of Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. Many veterans face significant challenges such as accessing quality health care, mental health support, and transition assistance back into civilian life. Will you commit to making the VA Choice program that you open up permanent?
So we had VA Choice, and this was something that was so important, was sought. That's where you have a choice of getting a doctor if you can't get fairly, quick service. And I will say we have great doctors. The doctors are incredible, but the administration of it is not good. And as you know, 4 years ago, we had the highest rated VA ever. We were at 92% approval rating. And I got two things done. I got VA Choice, and that was basically you wait, and if you don't have a doctor within 48 hours, you can go outside, get a doctor, we pay the bill, and you get yourself taken care of. People were waiting for 4 and 5 months to see a doctor, and they were not feeling well, but literally it was a minor thing, and they end up being terminally ill because of it. Think of it, terminally ill. The other thing we did, we had a lot of people that because of civil service and unions and other things, you couldn't fire them under any circumstances, no matter what they were. And they were sadists and they were thieves. There were a lot of bad people, right? You couldn't fire anybody. So they were living with people that were horrible. And these were both authorized by Congress. One was 52 years, they couldn't get it. The other was 58 years. I got the right to fire bad people that didn't take care of our veterans, right? You know that. And we fired 9,000 people and replaced them with great people, with loving people. And those two things, and we had a 92% approval rating, and it's never been even close to that. Now, here's the bad news. They're very rapidly breaking the system up. They've hired a lot of the people back that were terrible and that we fired. One of the problems, it's just unbelievable. And they don't know, you know why? Because they don't know what the hell they're doing. And the other thing is they're slowly getting rid of choice, so that they're making it so tough that you almost can't use it. We were actually saving money on choice because you save, a doctor would fix them up and get them back and beautiful. Instead, they were getting sicker, sicker, and sicker, and many of them became terminal. You know, I did one other thing, I have to say, right to try. That's where you have a right to try medicines that won't be approved for another 4 or 5 years. They've been trying for 50 years, more than that, to get it approved. And, you know, the insurance companies didn't want it, the country didn't want it, nobody wanted it. The doctors didn't want it because they didn't want to be sued. And I said, here's what we're going to do. I sat down in a room with all of them, the labs. I said, we're going to make a deal. They're going to sign a document saying they're not going to hold anybody liable, and we're going to get the right to try. And nobody really wanted to do it, but we did it. I forced it on them. We have saved thousands and thousands of lives, and even the labs now, and the doctors like it, because we're finding out that, you know, some of these things are incredible. They're taking people that were terminally ill, and they're getting better. Some of them are getting totally better. And we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. It sounds so simple. I love the name, Right to Try. People used to go to Asia, they'd go to Europe, they'd go all over the world looking for a cure, or they had no money and they couldn't do that. They'd go home and they'd just die. Now they sign a simple document, and we're using space-age things that won't be approved for another few years by the FDA, and we moved that time up. But they won't be approved for a little while. You know, you have to go through a very extensive testing. But if people are willing to sign that, we have saved so many thousands of lives. So I think you understand. But we're going to go back to choice very rapidly. Immediately, we're going back to choice. And we're also going to get rid of the bad people that don't love you. Okay?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for your service. My goodness. Army brat here. That's where our roots are. Our servicemen and women, our first responders, that's where it is. And so thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much, and congratulations. I want to wrap up on this, if I could. I had the opportunity a few months ago to talk to your lovely daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, on my show. She is incredible. She's an incredible woman. She is obviously so committed to bringing you back to where you belong. She's an incredible mother. I've been traveling with her a lot lately, and she's amazing. And one of the things we talked about on my show was the why with you. Because you have a lot of other things you could be doing right now. Your bank account looks pretty good. You have a few golf courses around the country. You have a few buildings here and there. You had 4 incredible years. You have grandchildren. You have another one on the way. Congratulations to your daughter, Tiffany. One of my favorite moments with you was watching the RNC and watching your daughter, your granddaughter, 17 years old, on the stage, and what that must have felt like for you. So there's so much that you have. And then you come out here and you just said it's such a dangerous job, and you choose to continue to do this when you don't have to. It's safer, it's cheaper, all of the things to not do what you're doing today. Why? Why?
So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, I probably am asked that question more than any other question. They say, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I think I'm asked that question maybe like, why do you do this? Or if you had it to do again, sort of a similar question, would you do it over? And the answer to that is so easy and so emphatic, yes. But the reason is, I was saying to, in a sort of kidding fashion the other night at a rally with these great rallies, and I was saying, I didn't have to be here. I was in the middle of a little bit of a rough area, and I loved every minute of it. We had, I think, 28,000 people. We had 101,000 people in Butler, you know that. We had 107,000 people in California the other day. And I said, here's the story. I could be anywhere I want. I could be on the finest beaches having that sun go over that very white skin that hasn't seen sun in years. I could be hit in the face with beautiful waves of salt and beautiful salt water. I could be wherever I want, and I have great properties all over. Or I could be here with you people, and you know what? I would rather be here with you than any other thing that I can do, because you have a lot of people that are rich or wealthy, and they can do what they want to do. But we're doing something that's unique. This is the greatest movement of all time. We're going to turn our country around. Our country is really, it's a failing nation. I don't care what you say. I mean, we're laughed at all over the world by other leaders. 4 years ago, we were respected by everybody. China, Russia. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine. Israel would have never been attacked on October 7th. We would have never had the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, which is, you saw what happened in Afghanistan, the Taliban. We would have never had, think of it, we would have never had Afghanistan. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and strength, and we were going to keep the big air base Bagram because it's 1 hour away. Spent billions and billions of dollars, just about the biggest, most powerful, longest runways in the world. We gave it to China. They gave it to China. China's now operating. We were 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We gave it up. Would have never happened. All of these things, we wouldn't have had inflation because our energy was so good. Energy caused the inflation, what they did with energy. But I said to myself, sometimes I see, I get hit with all these lunatics that we have, where the radical left lunatics, where they make up stories about Russia, Russia, Russia. In the end, I wouldn't change what we've done for anything. We're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. And we can't do that sitting on a beach, right? We can't do that sitting on a beach. So I wouldn't change it for a thing. And I just want to thank you. You've really done a great job tonight. And you have a tremendous understanding. I thought that I know you through sports and through other things, but you have really got an understanding of both the good and the bad of where this country is. And I appreciate you being here very much.
Thank you. I'm an American. That's all it is. I just love this country, and I love that you love this country. This is what we need, and he does choose to do this for all of us. So help me give him a grand exit off the stage here because he has football to go watch. The 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Get out and vote, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. You've heard from the 45th, who some people say might be the 47th. What do you think? Do you think this guy is going to be the 47th? I think so. Look, I think so. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, man. So legendary right here, man. This man is just legendary. He's been working so hard, so hard, so hard. All right, let's listen to the vice president. All right, here goes the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Through these next 16 days, that will be about a statement about what kind of country do we want to live in. And is ours a country where the people will speak their word? The power of the people will make the statement that ours is a country that, fueled by our faith, is about doing things that are focused on what's in the best interest of our children, our families, giving people the resources they need around assistance, helping people pull out of poverty, those who want to work hard, who are working hard, but deserve to be seen and uplifted. And these are the issues in this election. I offer as an example, one of the things that I am very focused on is what we need to do to take care of our elders, right? So as a point of personal experience, I will share with you when my mother was sick, she passed away from cancer. And I know this is Pink Sunday for many of us. We're acknowledging what we need to do to fight breast cancer. So my mother, she actually did research in breast cancer, okay? And she was one of the very few who actually, a woman of color who was doing this work. But when my mother was sick, I took care of her. And for anyone who is taking care of an elder in your family, a parent, a grandparent, you know what that is. It's about trying to cook something that they'll feel like eating. It's about trying to give them the clothes that won't irritate their skin, to help them to put on a sweater. It's about trying to figure out something you can say that brings a smile to their face or gives them a reason to laugh. It's about dignity. It's about dignity. So part of how I think about what we need to do in the future of our country is really have policies that are about sharing and giving and recognizing dignity, which is why part of my plan is that instead of having you have to either leave your job to take care of an elder in your family or try to pull together the money to afford to bring somebody in, or worse yet, have to reduce all of your savings to qualify for Medicaid. I know what I'm talking about. So, understanding it's about dignity, part of my plan is that we are going to have Medicare cover the cost of in-home health care for our seniors. From my perspective, and a lot of it my lived experience, about what kinds of policies a president of the United States should be leading and pushing that are rooted in recognizing the dignity in each one of us and the importance of lifting others.
All right, so unfortunately, as we have been sharing with you, this stream is just not the best, and it does look like perhaps this is frozen for the moment right here. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to step away for a 2-minute break here on Live Now from
My trade policies will make us very rich. They will bring us tremendous numbers of jobs.
My mic was turned off. Oh, great.
They'll take a place like Detroit and make it the motor capital, the car capital of the world again. We'll do that. And our trade policies will make it very, very rich. That's why a guy like Elon Musk is supporting me, because he knows what's going to happen. She will drive businesses out and people out of our country. We're going to end up, if she got elected, you have a 1929-style depression, not recession. This will be a 1929-style depression, the good old depression, and we don't want that in our country. If she gets elected, she knows nothing about business. Her policies are done by very stupid people, very foolish people and stupid people. She knows nothing. I don't think she can get elected. I can't imagine. You won't have any jobs. The country will be out of business. Well, I haven't followed that. All I know is he's a great patriot. What he's done between the cars and the jobs and all of the things he's done. And look what happened. He moved to Texas from Los Angeles, from basically California. And I just asked him one question. Did the Governor Newsom, did he call you to try and keep this massive company in the area that they're at, which is a place in California that's a very nice place, but they don't treat people right? I said, did he ever call you? Did Newsom ever call you in order to try and keep you? He said he never got a call. Think of it. Thousands of jobs. He's threatening to move. He wants to stay, probably. And he never got a call from anybody in California to keep the job. You know what they call that? Bad management. I think he's one of the greatest Americans we've had in many, many decades. Elon is amazing. When you look at that rocket ship come in, it lands in the same place that it took off. And I'm looking, I had no idea we'd see that. And nobody else can do it. Our country can't do it. We can do it because of him. Russia can't do it, and China can't do it. They don't have the technology. He doesn't. No, he's, you know, they say one in a generation. That's Elon. To have his endorsement is such a big deal. And you see those young people when they hear his name. He knows what he's doing. All he wants is he wants to have a great country. And he knows that she will destroy the country. She's a Marxist. She's a communist. She wants to have open borders. Millions, hundreds of millions of people are going to pour in. Unchecked, unvetted. So now we have hundreds of thousands of criminals all over our country because of her and her ridiculous open border. And
Elon is definitely a legend.
But they have to be checked and vetted. Thank you very much. See you over at the place.
The door to make sure.
So just like Elon is supporting the former president, Mark Cuban is supporting the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris. So I guess is the battle of the billionaires. Except Elon would like, come on, Mark Cuban compared to Elon, it's like it's not even on the same level. I mean, it's just what it is. Mark ain't compared to Elon. No, I think never.
You know, the retail customers came in, and I'd be there for them. I'm like, Michael, I've got this deal I'm going to close. It's a $15,000 sale. My commission was $1,500. That meant I can move out. We called it the hellhole. I can move out of the hellhole and get my own apartment. So I went to Michael. I said, I got someone to cover for me. I'm going to go pick up this check, and I'm going to come back and hand it to you. He goes, no, I need you to open the store. I'm like, I got it covered, Michael. He says, no. Like, I made the executive decision thinking, if I go out and bring back a $15,000 check, he's going to be like, okay, I was wrong. I bring it back, he fires me. Like that. So here I am, sleeping on the floor, mustard and ketchup sandwiches, gained 20 pounds because I would take $5 to a local pub where they had all the fried mushrooms, and like they would see me coming and go, oh no, you know. Anyway, so I was stuck. But fortunately, I was able to find one business, a company called Architectural Lighting. And I said to them, look, I'm broke. I got nothing. Eating mustard and ketchup sandwiches. If you front me this $500 for the software I know you want, if it doesn't work, I'm going to come here and wash your car, sweep your floor, walk your dog. I don't care. Fortunately, it worked. And I was able to turn that into a company called Micro Solutions that I built up to 80 people. Went 7 years without a vacation. 7 years without a vacation because I know what it's like to grind. I know what it is to be an entrepreneur and have your back against the wall. But then I was able to sell it. $6 million, which is a lot of money. But do you know what I'm most proud of? $1 million of that went to the employees. And then I went and turned that into another company. So right around 1995, one of my buddies from Indiana, go Hoosiers, comes up and says, you know, there's this new thing called the internet. There's got to be a way we can listen to Indiana basketball down in Dallas. I'm like, cool, let me think about that. And so literally we started a company called AudioNet, and that was the very first streaming company. And so we built that up, took it public. It was the biggest IPO in the history of the stock market, and I sold it for a lot of money. But the best part about that is we had 330 employees when we sold. 300 of them became millionaires. There is a way, right? And then, just to fast forward, when I sold part of the Mavs, we paid out almost $50 million in bonuses to fewer than 400 employees. So the point being there, business can do good. Business can do well. But not everybody thinks like that. I know the power of broke. You all know the power of broke when your back's against the wall. You think Donald Trump knows the power of broke? You think Donald Trump ever slept on the floor? You think Donald Trump ever ate mustard and ketchup sandwiches? Could you imagine? Please, can I have some Grey Poupon with my mustard and ketchup? No, that's not going to happen. In a Trump world, it just doesn't work like that. He just doesn't understand business. In a Kamala Harris world, she does. Like Doug was saying, she's been there. She's been through the struggle. She knows what the power of broke is. She knows that the biggest businesses will start with the smallest grain. Just one individual right here in Grand Rapids can turn it around. When they've asked themselves, why not me? They can turn it around and turn into something. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he does things like tariffs. Where he wants, look, tariffs can be strategic, okay, at times, but across the board tariffs, that's just dumb. And you know why it's really dumb? People think, you know, he talks about, well, we're going to bring manufacturing back from overseas here. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you own an overseas manufacturing plant? No factories in some country somewhere? No. It doesn't help small businesses. And remember, small businesses are 99.5% of all businesses. Small businesses create more than 55% of new jobs. Do small businesses matter? Yes. Small businesses are everything. That's where the growth comes from, and Kamala understands that. And I'm going to tell you why tariffs are really, really bad for small business. People don't realize that some of the most popular products, some of the things we buy all the time on a daily basis are made in China. It's just the way it is. It's cheaper. I mean, the reality is we like to think we like to pay up for American products, but we don't. And you guys know that. You know, you're going to buy what's most cost effective for your family. Donald Trump doesn't know that. So when he just starts talking about a 60% tariff on all things from China, your books are going up for school. Sporting goods, products, bats, balls, all the things you want to get for your kids, going up in price. Clothes, going up in price. Everything's going up in price. And when those things go up for the people, anybody here import goods at all? Any retailers here? Nope, okay. Well, I'll still use this example. When those products go up in price, that means people sell less. The retailers sell less. But it's even worse than that. Because the things I just mentioned, those are the things you're looking at buying for your kids and your family for Christmas. So if prices go up because he does imports, he puts a 60% tariff on imports from China, what happens? You're not able to buy as much for your family for Christmas. Donald Trump is the Grinch that's trying to steal your Christmas. Am I wrong? No. And when those prices go up and you can't buy all those presents, not only are you heartbroken, but think about retail stores. The knick-knack store down the street that's been there forever. The clothing store was like, how do you guys stay in business? Oh, they got great clothes that they pick out. Those companies get it even worse. You know what they say, where that stuff goes downstream, right? It goes right on them. He's trying to put them out of business, and he doesn't even know. That's the worst possible part. You've got to know about these things. He just doesn't care. The distributors, the retailers, he just doesn't care. He'll jack up those prices and not care less. But then there's healthcare. Those of you with businesses, what's it like dealing with healthcare? It's scary as hell, isn't it? Because it's almost impossible for a small business to provide all the healthcare you want to compete with bigger businesses. And then if they use the ACA, which is a great program, they have a higher deductible. And so the prices, when you see these pharmaceutical companies, and it's not even the manufacturers as much as the middlemen, jack up the price, it's terrifying, isn't it? Because when someone in your company gets sick, who worries just as much as the person who got sick? You. It's your business. These are your employees that work for you. And so it's terrifying to know that not only can you not help them, they can't help themselves, and they can't show up for work. And when they can't show up to work, who's responsible? You, right? It's hard enough to run a business, let alone being terrified about your health care costs. Kamala Harris understands that. You've heard her talk about getting rid of the pharmacy middleman. They're called pharmacy benefit managers. And when you get rid of the pharmacy benefit managers, the big ones, the not transparent ones that jack up prices, when you get rid of them, your drug costs are going to go down 20 or 30%. So when people talk about inflation and Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill, let me just tell you how stupid that is, right? Because if everybody drills, the price goes down. If the price goes down, are people going to keep on drilling? No, they stop, right? It just doesn't make any economic sense. But yeah, our costs have gone up 19, 20% over the last 4 years. That's a fact. His drilling is not going to change that. But if your healthcare costs, particularly starting with your medications for you and your employees and your family, go down 20, 30% or more, will that more make up for it? Yes. When your healthcare costs go down because we're instituting new programs, will that make up for it? Yes. And that's the point. So when we talk about inflation, it is what it is, right? It's unfortunate and it was painful, but there's a way to compensate for it. And what Kamala Harris is doing to eliminate the middlemen in pharmacy and healthcare, that's going to push your costs down. And as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, not only is that helping you, it's helping all your employees. And when it helps all your employees, that helps the business. When it helps the business, that helps the community. When it helps the community, that helps everyone. So I want to open up time for questions, but I want you to know this. Kamala Harris understands the power of broke. Kamala Harris understands when you're looking in your kid's eyes, and just like my dad looked at me, my dad, who literally lost an eye trying to change someone's upholstery in their.
All right, so that is Mark Cuban talking at a Michigan rally event with Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. This is for Vice President Harris. We do need to step away for.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. We just heard, oh, it's still there. It is still there.
Emissions into our environment.
It's a patent application. I'll read it.
Why not me?
Exactly.
But ladies and gentlemen, it'll be the biggest industry in the globe.
I got
Right here. First, I do want to say thank you because you do so much, and I can sit here and talk all day about the ways that you've influenced my life, and you don't have to be running around doing all this right now. So thank you. You've seen so. I have a business, so I'm not going to ask a business question. You've seen so much of the world. Like, why do you think there's so many people that still want to vote for Trump?
So I can give a lot of different answers, but he's been doing this for 10 years. He's been in the public eye for 50 years, and some people just get caught up in that. And then you add to that social media, you know, even 10 years ago, before you ran the first time, you couldn't go to social media and find a lot of other people who would agree with someone like him. But now you can go on social media and find somebody who agrees with you. And when you find somebody, you know, if you're a little bit out there, maybe not mainstream in your feelings, you can find people that feel that way. And I think that just reinforces it and reinforces it. Then social media reinforces that. And so I think that's where he's gotten where he's gotten. But let me just add. Let me tell you about a woman, a very strong woman, who when she first started 13 weeks ago, had negative favorability ratings. People didn't even know. Donald Trump even used to say, what's her name? People didn't know who she was. And so you have this guy who's been a celebrity forever, who was the president, who's been campaigning ever since he got his ass kicked as president, right? And then this woman, Kamala Harris, comes in and in 13 weeks catches up. That says a lot, doesn't it? All the more reason why we have to get out.
So I saw you on Bill Maher on Friday. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. So my question surrounds kind of your business experience. When Kamala wins, what would be a tangible recommendation that you give to her on day one?
That's a great question, and I will help her as much as I can. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking to be in the cabinet or anything like that, but I'll advise her just like I've done for people in the past. I think we have to deal with the deficit, and I think I've talked to her about it, and if you heard her Pittsburgh speech, she talked about it took only 1 year to build the Empire State Building, and now it would take who knows how long. And she talked about using technology to reduce the friction and reduce the permitting time. That's the first step, because all that friction is expensive. All that permitting and getting approvals is expensive. And so when you cut that back, that's a first step towards reducing the deficit. Then I talked to her about programs. Look, she's smart. When she was the Attorney General, there were programs she cut. And she understands there are some programs, look, it's just the nature of reality. Not all programs work. And she knows that. She did tell me what she would cut. I didn't ask, but she understands that that's the case. And so talking about the deficit and it being important, because we all hear stories about the deficits. And let me just tell you, the other guy has no idea either. He keeps on saying, he's like Oprah these days. You get a tax cut. You get a tax cut. You get, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. He has no clue about cutting the deficit. He says Elon Musk is going to cut the deficit, Mr. Efficiency. Look, Elon's one of the best entrepreneurs ever. And you can't take that away from him. But he's also the world's biggest troll. And how he is going to overcome all the conflicts of interest, because you can't run the Department of Efficiency and be SpaceX and Tesla and Starlink and all these other things. That's a conflict of interest. So he'll never get the chance, fortunately. But Kamala understands that the deficit isn't a positive, and there are ways to do it. She understands the technological side. When Donald Trump talks about AI, Kamala talks about AI and says, okay, we can improve efficiency. We want to improve, and enhance technology, because that enhances our competitiveness globally. And when AI companies grow, that means more exports and more business for everybody. Donald says, the AI. What the hell is the AI? And then he talks about uses more electricity. Who cares? It's an issue, don't get me wrong, but that's not what AI is all about. So Kamala gets technology, she understands the impact on the economy, she understands the impact on growth, she understands how to use it to reduce the deficit, and she knows not all programs are perfect. So,
Beautiful, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Hello. My name is Adrian Johnson, and I've been doing web and graphic design work as an entrepreneur since 2016 as Rebellious Creatives, and I focus on small businesses and startups. So my question is keeping a business like that afloat, because I'm a one-woman show. How do you keep finances afloat when it comes to keeping programs and everything else?
Look, I've done web development. That first company I told you about, the systems integration, I wrote software, and it was just me to start. And it takes time to build a customer base. And that's the hard part. You just have to keep on doing a great job for your customers and understanding that when you're in the community and you're helping them grow, because that's what web design does, right? That's what digital marketing does. You help people grow. It's not going to be easy. There are no shortcuts. I told you I went 7 years without a vacation. I lived for too long sleeping on the floor with my one towel that I stole from Motel 6. Sorry, Motel 6. You can bill me, I got it. But you get my point. I wish I could tell you, look, we're going to there are tools that Kamala's coming out with to help you raise funding. The Community Development Fund, she's a big proponent of, and she'll grow those. But the honest answer is you have to grow a little bit more. And the way to grow a one-person shop is to build up enough, like what I did. You build up enough business where you need a second person. And it pays for that second person. And then you get that second person, and then you get the third. And then once you start rolling, the referrals start coming in. So it's a grind, but I know you can do it. Good luck.
Over in front of you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Right here. Sorry. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I have a question actually about small businesses. I'm trying to set up an e-commerce business, and what you mentioned about China is actually so true. It is scary, the tariffs, and he just doesn't know what that actually means. And the bottom
What kind of
line-
e-commerce business are you trying to set up?
Retail. Retail e-commerce. Well, right now I have proudchildlesscatlady.com, but this is actually for me to learn in order to like have a more permanent business. But my question is that a lot of the products, especially in e-commerce, come from China. And I actually firmly believe that China will be bankrupt maybe like 2030, but that's another story. So I would love to buy more products here made in the USA, but it's impossible as a small business.
It's tough, yeah.
So what do you recommend for for small businesses who do want to support other small businesses in the U.S., but I mean, it's just really hard.
It's a
very
great question.
expensive. Yeah.
I literally invested in a company called Cultivate.us, and it's kind of like a made in America version of Honey, so that you can go there, download it as an add-on to your browser, and it helps you find made in America companies, but they're more expensive. And you've got to make that choice. And so if you're going to be in retail, particularly with Temu and Shine and all that, that makes it even more difficult. But you've got to find an angle that makes you unique. You know, you look on Etsy and to a lesser extent eBay, where people just use their creativity. And so if you have a way to define what makes your site different and differentiated, then that's where you start. Because then people can say, oh, I can get this here. And then you grow it up some, and then you bring it on Shark Tank.
Thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you.
My question is, what will it take and how long will it take to introduce high-speed rail in America?
That I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know. I have no clue. At least I'm honest about it. How long will it take for high-speed rail to come to America? I know there's been conversations everywhere, but it's something I've avoided because it's not my area of expertise. What do you say?
My name is Isaac James. I own a lawn business that I've owned for 2 years. I'm 14 years old. My question is, how do you manage school and business at the same time?
Well, I'm a junior in high school, and then let me tell you, it's hard. You know, when I had my business, even just out of college, it's hard to manage your time and it's hard to balance. But the good news is there's weekends, and that's what you have to take advantage of. And I'll say this to all businesses, because this is a lesson I think that I learned the hard way. Sometimes we like to chase revenue. We think like if we get up to 100,000 in revenue or $1 million in revenue, that's more important. It's not. What's most important, Isaac, is how much money you put in your pocket. It's your, the cash you have in the bank. And so if you find yourself with too many people trying to buy your services, trying to get the market, raise your price. Seriously, because what's the worst, if you're able to raise your price, now you're making more money. And I think sometimes when you have a small business, it's terrifying to try to raise your prices because you don't know, because it's just you. And if they say no, now you feel bad. It's like you feel like you have to, work hard to try to get them back. But just talk to them. What I've learned is when I communicate with my customers, it's like when the pandemic hit, and everybody was like, what do we do? Well, the best scenario was, they're scared too. Just go talk to them. And like Isaac, when you're starting a business, talk to somebody and you say, look, I'm really, really busy right now. My whole weekends are taken up mowing lawns. But so if I'm going to add you as a customer, I have to raise my price from whatever it is to whatever it is plus $10. And if you're on your website, right, and you're doing e-commerce, and you're so unique that this is the only place you can get what you sell, then it's okay to push the ball forward. Because it's not about the top line, it's about the bottom line. But great job on this, Rob. Okay, one more question. Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. Thank you for everything you do for IU, by the way. That's awesome. So I have a lot of Republican friends, especially some from IU. And the reason, I asked them about why the Republicans, maybe some of them are still supporting Trump, some aren't, but they're Republicans because of fiscal policy. And a lot of their money is tied up in the market. So what should I say to them? A Trump market versus a Harris?
Well, just have to look at the numbers first, right?
What do you see down the road? I mean, what
Right, so one of the things that people always talk about is an unrealized capital gains tax. And they'll always, I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. The unrealized capital gains was part of a proposal that was part of the 2024 budget, and it was never actually proposed. It's not going to be proposed. And so that's the first thing I always tell people. And I said this somewhere else, and I'll say it again. If for some reason during the Harris administration unrealized capital gains tax was passed, I would work against Kamala to not have another term, because I think it's that bad. And I think she'll be the best president ever. But when it comes to business, and she gets that. We had that conversation. Her team gets that. That's why it's not been proposed. So I'm not worried in the least that that's why I can say that. But so one, you tell them unrealized capital gains tax is not going to happen. Two, you tell them, okay, she talked about raising the rate for corporations. Well, here's a couple points. Remember I said that only 20,000 of 33 million companies were larger companies? Well, that's about the same number for people who are C Corps, right, that pay that tax. So 99.5% of companies are passed through, so they pay individual tax. And what does she say about anybody making $400,000 or less? It's the same or going down. So there's a good chance that if they're a small business or they're investing in small businesses as investors, their rates are going down. And that's going to help them more. But wait, there's more. You got it. Just stability. Look at John Deere. John Deere was just minding its own business, and one day they woke up a couple weeks ago and Donald Trump was going to tariff them 200%. Now what he did say is their competitors that sell, right, that are only getting tariffed 10%. Chinese companies that they compete with that are only getting tariffed, 10 or 20, where other foreign companies are only getting tariffed 10 or 20%. So he made it so that their competition would have a lower price than John Deere. We don't need that. So as entrepreneurs, as investors, they'll appreciate that. Just stability matters. You don't want a president who wakes up and decides they're going to tweet, at me, let's say, because I made him mad. Because when you're president, a lot of people will make you mad. So no capital gains tax on unearned income, right? For 99.5% of people, rates are going down. Tariffs, the other point I'll make is 28% tax rate versus 21%. 21% plus 20% tariffs. When you do your cost of goods and I'll add it all up, which I've done, it's more expensive than paying a 28% rate. So the numbers are in Kamala's favor across the board. It's just people don't like to do the math. But the math is the math. 21% rate that he wants plus a 20% across the board tariff or higher is cheaper with 28% from Kamala. So everybody, thank you so much. Remember, we have 16 days. And do this as an entrepreneur. Go out and find people and bring them to vote. It'll be the best thing you ever can do for your own bank account, because Kamala Harris will make you a whole lot richer than Donald Trump. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. So let's go listen to the real one. This is a low budget Elon, right? Mark is a low budget Elon, bro. I mean, I ain't got I don't even have zero compared to what he has, but Mark really is like a low budget Elon. We ain't finna cap about that.
Like a dummy version of me, and then see what happens. It's just like an inflatable version of something. I don't know, it'd be quite funny. Just troll them. No, but I have to admit, sometimes I'm a little shook by some of the things that I see. You know, like the level of vitriolic hatred on the left, which is supposed to be tolerant. They claim they're tolerant, and yet they're incredibly intolerant, and spewing hate. And you know, whereas on the right, I see people sort of tend to regard people on the left as, well, misguided. But you know, you don't hate them. They're just mistaken. They're misguided. But the amount of hate coming from the left is like, wow, next level. Yeah, there's some evil stuff out there. So, you know, I think we should embrace a diversity of views, and we should have reasonable arguments, and we should have debates, and they should be. That's the essence of free speech: is that ideas survive. You know, when they're competing ideas in the marketplace of ideas. You know, if somebody says something that's incorrect, then that can be corrected. That's what happens on the X platform. People will say something, then others will add context to it, or they will correct it, or there'll be a community note. And this applies equally to the left and right. You know, there's no thumb on the scale like there used to be. And it's, you know, there's no voice on the left that's been silenced, unlike in the past where many voices on the right were silenced. But they just don't seem to like the idea that people on the right can say what they want to say within the bounds of the law, which is startling. I mean, the reason for this petition in support of the Constitution is because the Constitution really is under attack. One prominent Democrat after another has been saying that freedom of speech, the First Amendment, is a bad thing. Yeah, John Kerry literally said that. And Tim Walz. Yeah, and Hillary. Yeah, exactly. It's like a long list. They're not like, you know, mid-level people it's like the top people in the Democrat Party are saying the First Amendment's an obstacle, and then they will refer to it, you know, like they use the word disinformation. Like it's a pretty good indication that if someone's using the word disinformation a lot, they are the ones creating the disinformation. So. And you know who you know, if you're trying to figure out, well, like, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, the people who are trying to suppress freedom of speech, they are the bad guys, you know? So, but it's actually astonishing that we're even in this position in 2024 in America. It's hard to even believe that this is real, you know? And some of the crazy stuff that I see happening, like California passing a law making it illegal to require voter ID in any election in the state. Like not even like for like a city council. And a friend of mine went to vote in Palo Alto in California because he was like, is this real or not? And he like tried to show his ID, and it was like presenting a cross to a vampire. Like they're like, no, put the ID away. You know, like they literally they weren't allowed to look at his ID even if he wanted to show it to them. That is the extent of the madness. This is a real thing in California right now. And if the Dems win nationally, they'll do it nationwide. Obviously, that's what's going to happen. And there will be no democracy. That's why I think this is the most important election of our lifetime. President Trump is the only one who can save democracy. So, yeah. Yeah. Fight, 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 fight. I mean, yeah. I'm still blown away that that a bunch of this stuff is even real. You know, like, and every week that goes by, something crazier happens. But yeah, exactly. They have ruined San Francisco. Yeah, and the UK, right. There's like this movement to suppress freedom of speech, throughout the world. Yep. And I mean, and the thing is that if obviously, yeah, indeed, Mars 2028, you know, occupy Mars. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. We want to do exciting, inspiring things that make you look forward to the future. You know, like sending people back to the moon, sending people to Mars, exploring the solar system.
We're listening here to Elon Musk. This was earlier today. He was campaigning on behalf of the Trump-Vance ticket in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. We are a little over 2 weeks out from the
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. This is the thing about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is literally doing a lot for the environment. You're talking about, you know, helping the atmosphere, helping the world, helping, you know, to have clean air. This man is doing a lot of that. So I believe that the left should actually, you know, I guess love him because clean hair and all that stuff. This guy's doing it.
All right, so Guy, can we talk about the retail politics of this McDonald's today? I mean, we have fries thanks to you upon request of Guy Benson.
This is for the content of the show, obviously.
Yes.
Not just because I was craving it, having seen the video.
And it's dinner time, so it worked out nicely.
It's actually fantastic. This is, with my mouth half full, this is such a smart play, I think, by the Trump campaign. Whether Kamala Harris worked at McDonald's or not, I would guess she probably did. It doesn't really matter. He's decided to troll her on this. And the fact that he got to a McDonald's French fry fryer before she did, and sort of in the humanizing, humorous way, was able to have one of the greatest presidential photo ops I can remember. Just in terms of entertainment value, we hear a lot about joy on the campaign. He seemed to be genuinely enjoying himself today, watching him, like, actually working the fries, filling the little sleeve, handing the bags of food to people through the window at the drive-thru. He said, I made it myself. Like, I laughed out loud. And it doesn't matter, like, take politics out of it. This was a home run day for them.
So, Joey, from the beginning to the end of the McDonald's visit, there were so many different moments. And what I loved were the people coming through the drive-thru and talking to the president and saying, wow, you came here as ordinary people. We get to meet the former president of the United States serving us the French fries. And he was loving it, waving to the press, talking about his opponent.
Yeah, one man, appeared to be maybe Indian, said, hey, I'm just an ordinary person. And Trump looks back and goes, you're not ordinary. You're special, or something like that. And I think that human connection is important. I think the real human connection here really is this man wants to be president of the United States, and there's a lot of people out there who are in a part to full-time minimum wage hourly job that requires some labor, and they have aspirations to do something else one day. And they can go and vote for someone who at least at one day in his life understood what that means, understood what that work is, what that interaction with people is. We know he likes McDonald's, like that was they kind of made fun of him. So he likes the brand, he likes the food, but now he knows what it means to do that for a living. And it may be small, it might be a very small amount of people, but there are people out there like, you know what, that dude, I'm working at McDonald's. I did that job for 5 years more than I wanted to. He gets it. Maybe he'll make an economy for me that I don't have to go do it again, or that I can do it and do it comfortably, whatever your aspirations are. I think it was a really smart move.
It makes things very relatable. 1 in 8 Americans, Nita, have worked at McDonald's, but there are some questions about whether Kamala Harris has actually worked there. And Snopes, which is a fact-checking service, actually looked into it. She has claimed this multiple times, probably to be relatable. And they said this about it. That says, Harris claims she had a job at McDonald's while in college. Here's what we found. Quote, there was no tangible evidence of Harris working at McDonald's as a college student. We reached out to the Harris campaign. as well as McDonald's headquarters seeking tax records and other proof. And we reached out to Harris's sister, Maya, as well as a close friend from Howard University seeking comment, and looked for public interviews by friends or family members of Harris's to confirm the story, with no luck. So that was definitely the main theme today of the president visiting, is calling her out on that fact.
Yeah, you know, look, she says she worked at McDonald's. He says, no, she didn't work at McDonald's. We don't have definitive proof either way, but to Guy's point, he beat her to McDonald's. She could have done this. She missed the Al Smith dinner. She missed McDonald's. She lost some votes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these clips are going super viral online.
Yes, and there's a lot of them. There's so many different parts of it. But speaking of votes, Anita, of course, the Harris campaign is trying to win back a number of voters. Her ploy to win the bro vote is getting pretty bizarre. Recent Fox News polling gives Trump a double-digit edge over the vice president with male voters. She's putting out this cringeworthy ad to court black men. Watch.
Do you work out?
I like to stay active, yeah.
Do you have a plan to vote?
I didn't plan on it.
Wow. Sounds like a great dating service. Meanwhile, Trump is taking a more traditional approach. Football greats Antonio Brown and the Vian joined the former president on stage last night in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. He also has some WWE legends on his side.
All right, everyone, November 5th, Election Mania. Choice is yours. You can go with President Trump, Kane, and The Undertaker, or you can take Kamala Harris, Dave Bautista, and Tim Walz. Choose wisely.
It's going to be a landslide, and at the end of the day, all of America wants to get back to America, not the way it used to be, but the way it should be.
So, Joey, the campaign now is desperately trying to promote masculinity, but I want to review exactly where they've been on this topic over the course of the past 6 months, whether it's Tim Walz or whether it's the current second gentleman.
These awful models of masculinity.
There's too much of toxicity, masculine toxicity out there, and we've kind of confused what it means to be a man.
Speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of players that came out of the RNC.
And not all men are just at home listening to Joe Rogan, being angry or being recruited to fascism. Some just need therapy.
So they've attacked them for months and months. Now all of a sudden they're trying to say they want to embrace some kind of male vote. It's a difficult play with 2 weeks to go.
Well, their self-own and their ignorance to it is what's really laughable here. Listen, Trump or J.D. Vance are not the testosterone-filled, picturesque Hulk Hogan version of masculinity that they're attacking and saying Republicans believe in. What makes them masculine, or that term alpha, is that they're fathers that love and raise their kids. They understand the idea that you provide and protect before you do anything. That's masculinity. That's what conservatives value as masculinity. The rest of it is it's style. And listen, I grew up laying brick and block and doing things that made me bleed. I'm no more masculine than someone who didn't if the principles of being a father and a provider and a protector are the same, and I think they are.
All right, well said.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to support.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this might just be the end of the live show. This may be the end of the live show. Okay, I will be back. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Keep going, keep going, keep on going. Believe in you. Believe in your dreams. Believe in God. All right? Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. I love you guys. Genesis is signing out. I will be back, though. I will be back, okay? I'm going to be back. God bless you guys.